Good evening, everyone. Welcome to an episode of LPA After Dark. We are LP Alliance, an intercaucus coalition rebuilding and revolutionizing the Libertarian Party. My name is Amanda Griffiths. I'm joined by Kyle Davis and Rob Yates, and we are joined by Caryn and Harlos. Caryn Ann, thank you so much for being here and being ready to spill the liber tea. And that is your joke, not mine.
Yes, it is. Let me do two things. Put headphones on.
Sure.
And shut my furnace off, which I'm sure you can hear.
Sounds good.
All right.
It's an awesome background, too.
So, let's see. I'm going to go ahead.
Welcome all.
Caryn Ann is already mirrored, so I'm going to unmirror Caryn Ann, so pink flame is correct way forward. Obviously, we know that some people are going to be unhappy hearing things tonight, and we've already had people saying, we're choosing a side and things. We've got Ben Weir on in today. We had Jim Wiley on last week. Everybody is welcome to come on here and give an opinion, even if we disagree. That's part of the idea of LP Allies, right? Like Amanda started with, it's an intercaucus coalition. We want everybody. We want this divide healed. However, sometimes there's drama, and sometimes there's crazy things that happen, and sometimes you need a pink-haired lady with liberty spikes to give you her opinion. And so that's what we're doing tonight, and that's what's going on. It's an after hours, after dark. So if you have a drink, go for it.
Or an adult beverage.
You didn't tell me that was a policy.
Yeah, I did. It's an after dark.
It's not even dark yet.
Amanda, we discourage
No
you
one
from
cares
drinking
about
for so many
Wisconsin.
reasons.
As
Hey,
long as
could
the
I
drugs are still in my system.
throw something out real fast before we jump into it? So, Caryn Ann, I just wanted to say publicly, I don't know if you remember, but I took over as head of LPNC comms almost 4 years ago now, and I had no idea what the hell I was doing, and I just shot you an email out of the blue asking for some advice. And you set aside 30 minutes, you ended up spending 90 minutes, you gave me so many good tips, it has led to so much success, and I just want to publicly say thank you very much. That kindness, I really appreciate it.
Am I echoing to you guys?
You are not. No.
Okay, I can deal with the echo on my end. Rob, that's kind of my MO. Anyone who calls me or wants assistance, I'm one of the most available people in the party. Whether I agree with them or not, and I'm not saying I disagree with you at all. This echo is really, really terrible though for me.
It's probably Kyle's fault. Kyle, can you stop doing bad things?
There we go. That's the logo I want up there.
Okay, let's see. Well, it seems a little better.
It's small.
Not really.
Do you want to turn off? I mean, again, restart does not always work, but sometimes it does if you unplug and replug.
Well, let me come back in.
Sure.
Let me sign out and come back in.
Sure.
All right.
Gosh, Kyle. So, to give a little bit of background for those who don't know, and Caryn Ann will tell most of this story, but while we're waiting, Caryn Ann Harlos announced her resignation. What's up, Kyle?
I think I figured out why she was echoing. There were two Caryn Anns.
I see. All right.
Apparently
there were two of you, Caryn Ann.
Okay, I think it's better now.
Very nice.
I think it was me trying to stream. So if you guys want to send me the video for my channel, that's fine. If not, that's okay. I wanted you guys to get the views, actually. So it doesn't matter to me one way or another. But yes, I'm here to spill the liberty. Because, here's the thing. Since my involuntary vacation, which did get, in fact, vacated by the JC, and then Angela tried to take retribution against me in January, I made a promise to Steve Nikela, and he made several promises to me. I kept all of my promises to him. He has not kept all of his promises to me. And that's one thing I'd like to talk about. That's one reason why I resigned. I have zero confidence in Stephen Nikela as LNC chair. And the fact, that he doesn't know procedure, he just tried to unilaterally appoint Adrian Malagon as secretary pro tem. And he was a fucking terrible secretary pro tem, by the way. Go look at his August meetings and you'll see all the links are broken. Now, he'll probably fix it by the end of this meeting, but he was too damn lazy to be able to put the reports at the end of the minutes, complaining they were too long, but all the links are broken, like I predicted they would be. But he'll fix it probably before the end of this meeting. Adrian Malagon, in my opinion, is a sociopath. He has abused everyone on the LNC. And I'm going to read to you guys, because I'm going to show you how Stephen Nikela broke his fiduciary duty to the LNC. So our LNC currently has a harassment policy. I'm not the only person he has harassed. He has harassed people I don't like. But that doesn't matter to me. When you are on a board, you have to show respect to everyone, whether you like them or not. The biggest person that he has harassed, and I'm sure Adrian will make a big joke about that, but I didn't mean it in terms of physical size. I meant it in terms of quantity, is Andrew Chatterton. Now, do I like Andrew Chatterton? No, I don't. But it doesn't matter. He is an LNC member. And just like Adrian Malagon did with Beth Vest, he has consistently made fat jokes against Andrew Chatterton. He has claimed that he is inbred, that his parents, I don't have the exact quote, so this is going to be a paraphrase, that basically his family couldn't find anyone to breed with. So it's not his fault that he's so terrible because he's completely inbred. He also asked Andrew Chatterton, how does he possibly type with food in one hand than the other? He has defamed Mike Seebeck. He has defamed nearly the entire Judicial Committee, which is entirely inappropriate for an LNC member. Even when the JC rules against me, I do not say anything negative against them. He has said, no wonder Andrew Chatterton has more energy than him, because Andrew Chatterton is so big, he must hibernate for the entire winter, so he must have enough rest. He has said, because I have pink hair and because Mike Seebeck wears tie-dye, that we should both be expelled from the party. He is a vicious sociopath. Now, let me tell you some secrets. These aren't executive sessions. These are things that happened, just LNC members talking on their own. When it looked like Michael Heiss was going to be chair, a certain coalition of us got together to prevent that from happening. Adrian Malagon was one of them. Steve Nikela was another. Stephen Nikela made a promise to me. He made a promise to Keith Thomas. He made a promise to Bill Redpath. And he made a promise to Dustin Nana. We needed Adrian's vote. And what Steve said is, I promise that if Adrian continues his prior bad behavior, that I will ask him to resign. He has broken that promise. Now, our policy manual has a harassment provision. Adrian Malagon has made insults about my hygiene. He has made insults about my appearance. He has tried to claim that I should not speak until spoken to. So I have made various complaints under our policy manual to the chair about Adrian Malagon's behavior. The chair has ignored all of them. He didn't even give me a thank you. We're looking into this. He ignored them. Our policy manual requires an investigation. If Angela McCardle is going to be investigated for violations of the policy manual, why does Stephen Nikela get away with it? I'll read you the complaints I wrote if you'd like to hear them. I certainly would like everyone to hear them.
We can also link to them if you'd like.
Oh, I'll send you to them too. I mean, I don't know if we can link to them because they were sent from me personally to Stephen Nikela. And I also copied the vice chair. Now, the vice chair is not responsible. The vice chair, The vice chair is copied in case the chair is the subject of the complaint. Let me tell you, I love Paul Dar. I don't think he's too happy with me right now because of my sudden resignation, but I love Paul Dar. This complaint is against the chair. The buck stops with the chair. So after he knows, and Mama has receipts, that Adrian Malagon has been an abusive asshole to multiple people. I'll name the people. Me, but I'm not the one he's been the biggest asshole to. Andrew Chatterton, who I don't even like, but I have defended him because I am a person of integrity. Austin Martin, who he's a little strange, but Austin Martin and I get along just fine.
Austin Martin actually joined like the LPA server, and we routinely talk with him. And people have seen the things that like we tend to believe. So Austin Martin's certainly not inside of that, but he's usually like someone that can be talked to. He's an interesting guy. He's an interesting guy.
And I'll answer all the things in chat because I can do it now. Well, Meredith, no one is happy with me because I resigned. Well, you guys let Angela McArdle get away with bullshit. And I know for a fact that you were suspicious of her being, you might not have had proof of her being dirty, but you fucking knew in October, November, and December, and you still persecuted me. Resign, Meredith. Ooh. And same thing with almost nearly all of the board. So you can come after me all you want, but you guys had suspicions. I don't think you knew. Let me give Meredith credit. I don't think Kathy knew. I don't think Meredith knew. I think they had suspicions, but still they persecuted me. I wrote a whistleblower email to LNC Council in July, and no one did anything. And I would ask, maybe at the end of the show, you could put Meredith on if you want, because I would be more than happy to confront her because her behavior has been extremely suspect. And I think the LNC should pass a rule that people who are in a romantic relationship should not be on a board together.
We can have time for Meredith to come on toward the end. I do, however, want to do a little bit of background and timeline. And I know this all happened very quickly. So the Colorado convention that wasn't, but was, happened yesterday. There was I think immediately a blame game. You were blamed for being involved in it somehow. The allegation was that you had coordinated this illegal convention. Both Adrian Malagon and Jim Wiley seemed to back that view. What are your thoughts on that, first of all?
Okay, certainly. I have very good reason to believe that Adrian coordinated this with Jim Wiley the day before. And the fact is, it was not an illegal convention. Now, let me get this straight up front. I don't think JJ's interpretation is unreasonable. I also don't think my interpretation is unreasonable. Therefore, the bylaw is ambiguous, and Robert's Rules of Order is very clear. When there is a bylaw that is ambiguous, it is up to the convention body to decide. But let's pretend that the bylaw wasn't even ambiguous. The board does not have the authority, after postcards have been sent out, to just declare the convention canceled. What the chair should have done is write to the members and say, this is my intent. If this changes your plans, now you know. But they just can't claim it canceled. Only the delegates can do that. So they acted in complete bad faith. Now remember, once we called the convention to order, or actually maybe right before, Jim Wiley said, thank you for taking the bait. That is absolute proof of bad faith. And there are several reasons why I resigned from the LNC. And let me tell you something. I started talking about resigning with my husband 3 weeks ago. I can't say why about 3 weeks ago, because I am not going to violate my NDA. But I was thinking about resigning about 3 weeks ago. I decided today, because of Steve's complete bad faith rebuke of me and complete letting go of Adrian. It's funny that Meredith excuses Adrian's bad behavior. Now, Meredith can think that I'm a complete bitch. I don't care. The fact is, Adrian has been abusive for years. The last LNC will tell you. Ask Todd Hagopian. And in fact, Adrian has still, to this day, decided to slander Todd Hagopian and still calls him a hobbit and still asks when second breakfast will be. He's just a mean person. But talking about Colorado, this is the dispute. If I agreed with JJ, and again, JJ is a world-class parliamentarian. You will never hear me say anything negative about JJ's qualifications. But that doesn't mean he's always right. JJ keeps arguing about this one provision and claims it's notice. And let me give you an analogy. Let's say we were having an argument about cats, and you say, cats that have their claws have sharp claws. And I say, okay, but we're not dealing with a cat. This is a dog. And that's what's going on in Colorado. The requirement that JJ is citing, I dispute, is a notice requirement. It is a procedural requirement of state law, which we did not violate. The procedural requirement of state law is that there must be publication in a newspaper before you can elect directors. We did not elect directors because that would be in violation of state law. But we did do everything else. Let me give you another analogy. Say you were the member of a dog club, and in their policy manual or bylaws, it said that certain items of business could only take place at a regular meeting. And the chair noticed a special meeting with 15 items of business, but 2 of those could only be held at a special meeting. It does not invalidate the other 13 items. Now, how do I know a lot of this? I wrote that bylaw. R1R states that when there is an ambiguity, and the fact that 30 people after the chair announced the convention was canceled still drove all the way out to the Nebraska border shows that the membership thought there was an ambiguity. I love how they try to blame it on me. I wish I had that power. One thing you should know is thanks to the Mises Caucus, more than half of the people in that room hate my guts because I helped the Mises Caucus take over Colorado. And I have apologized for that. But those people weren't there because of me. They were there because of their own convictions. And also, one of the delegates disagreed with me. They believe newspaper notice was, in fact, given. I disagree with that member, and I said so publicly. But the fact is, notice requirements, in my opinion, again, this is just my opinion. I do not represent anyone in Colorado. I was not hired by anyone in Colorado. I am speaking strictly as a Colorado member, which I have every right to do. In my opinion, as the author of that bylaw, JJ did not cite the bylaw directly before it, which says direct notice of convention shall be provided by first-class mail 45 days before. That is our notice requirements. The publication in the newspaper is procedural requirements to comply with state law. That was indeed blown. But the state law only requires that for, there's 3 things it requires it for, but only one was relevant this year: election of directors. We did not elect any directors. And the purpose of notice requirements in a parliamentary sense is that everyone who is either a member of the assembly or a potential member of the assembly gets notice. And all of them did by postcard, and not all of them did by cancellation. In fact, we had a couple show up from Boulder. Now, I know you guys might not be familiar with the geography of Colorado, but that was a 4+ hour drive. Because the board is so incompetent, while they may have sent an email canceling the convention on Wednesday, which they had no right to do, they didn't even change the website until Friday. Why didn't they change the website on Wednesday? So this couple started driving to Holyoke on Thursday, from what I understand, and they camped there because there's a campground there, because they were relying upon the website. Why didn't they put that the convention was canceled on the website? And we've gotten differing stories. Now, I'm going to say this sincerely. My prayers go out to one of the board members who is in rehab. He has confirmed that he is in rehab. And I congratulate him for getting that help. But the fact is, there were 9 other board members, maybe 8. If they knew that one of their board members who was in charge of all of this was ill, it is their job to make sure that everything was complied with. They also hired a professional parliamentarian, I think back in March. They could have asked for professional assistance, and they chose not to. So on the Colorado thing, it is a difference in interpretation of bylaws. Now, Adrian has said, and he truncated what I said, I did not say merely that the delegates have the right to interpret the bylaws. That is not what I said. The video is available. I said when there is an ambiguity, the delegates have the right to interpret the bylaws. That's a quote straight out of Roberts. For Adrian to object to that is insane.
And so immediately after, sorry, go for it.
No, you keep going because I could talk forever.
Well, so immediately after this, Adrian submits a motion. Is that correct, to the LNC for your investigation?
Yes.
I want to make sure. Okay. So
yes, because he claims I committed fraud. By the way, that is libel. That is libel. There was and for one thing, it wasn't me. I made a motion. The delegates approved it. I wasn't convention chair. I'm competent. I could have moved to make me convention chair. I wasn't convention chair. I was merely a delegate. So Adrian is trying to punish me for the votes of delegates in Colorado because I merely made a motion. Well, how about punishing Adrian for the motion he just made on the LNC list that is trying to deprive the Region 1 representatives of due process? No, it won't be Adrian's fault if that passes because it requires a vote of the LNC. But I told Adrian that it broke the bylaws. And he said he's the only one who has the balls to do what needs to be done. And he's been bad-mouthing Steve Nikela, saying that Adrian is the only one who has the balls that need to be done. And it's funny that that Nikela has his back, whereas Adrian has the knife ready to stick in it. I could not stand this corruption anymore. And Stephen Nikela has broken his fiduciary duties by refusing to investigate a harassment complaint. I made 2 of them. And again, I would be more than glad to read them. Everyone likes to dunk on Nick Sarwark, but I'm not going to name the person who made the complaint because their identity is confidential. But there was a complaint made to Nick Sarwark when he was chair. And this person wasn't a member of the LNC. And Nick followed the proper procedure to investigate it. When I made these 2 complaints to Stephen Nikela, I did not even get an acknowledgement that I made them. And Meredith can say lies and fairy tales, but I have the emails because Mama has receipts. I think it's freaking pathetic that she is defending.
Meredith's going to be on later.
Okay.
So let's, if we can stay off of that one for now.
You followed up to Adrian Malagon's motion with a motion of your own to have Adrian Malagon investigated. What was the thinking behind that? Was that purely retaliatory? What were you going for there?
No. Okay, so let's go back to February, right before Stephen Nikela was elected. We were like, the LNC is in crisis mode. We are not best friends. But we had a gentleman's agreement that we were not going to go after each other. And I made it clear that I thought that Adrian had completely been a bully and had violated decorum. But I agreed with Adrian and Stephen Nikela that we would just leave each other alone. If he's going to go after me, and if people want to call that retaliation, I don't really care if they do. The fact is, it is grounded in fact, and other LNC members agree with me. And I have the documentation. I hope someone else makes that motion because Adrian Malagon has no business being on the LNC. He's a sociopathic bully. Even if he bullies people I don't like, because let me make it clear, I do not like Andrew Chatterton, but he deserved better. And I'm going to give credit to Andrew, and for one thing, Andrew never responded in kind. He was always professional. Now, do I think things he's doing in Michigan is dirtbag? Yes. But on the LNC, Andrew has never responded in kind. Ever.
Stephen Nikela declared both of the motions dilatory, I believe, both yours and Adrian Malagon's. And I think sent some sort of rather strongly worded follow-up, I think, to you, criticizing your behavior. We don't have Stephen Nikela here, so we can't psychoanalyze too much. What was that, and what do you think was some of the thinking that went into that ruling that he made?
Okay, and that's what prompted the resignation. So
Okay.
here's the thing. Stephen Nikela and I had an agreement. And the agreement was if he had an issue with anything that I did, he would come to me privately and I would correct it. The fact is, and you can ask more neutral LNC members, and Kyle, I think, will attest to this. Since January, when I came back on the LNC, my behavior has been exemplary. I have held back. Malagon has not. He has continued his absolute bullying. If Nikela had posted in that email and went after both me and Malagon, I wouldn't have liked it because I have not done anything wrong. But I would have accepted it. But instead, he's only gone after me. I'm going to tell you my theory. I don't have any proof of this, but I think somewhere Malagon has him by the short hairs. Do I know what it is? Well, I can tell you one thing. He brags about controlling 2 votes on the LNC. And Steve wants those 2 votes. But that doesn't mean that you allow. Oh, and Adrian had a good thing. Stephen Nikela did know what was going to happen in LPCO the next day. And now he's acting all outraged. He knew. We had a phone call. I can show you my phone that shows the outgoing phone call. Now, nothing wrong happened in LPCO. There is a disagreement about the bylaws. And probably, I don't know who will sort it out, whether it be a JC, whether it be a court, whether it be the members just getting together and coming to an agreement. But Nikela knew. And he cannot pretend like he didn't know. He is being duplicitous. And let me tell you something else Nikela knew. He knew that I was submitting the Chase paperwork to Colorado back in July. And then he pretended like he didn't.
How are you aware that he knew that?
Because he called me, and I can show you my phone. We had an hour-long conversation, and he told me LPCO should be disaffiliated for what they're doing. And speaking of disaffiliation, now I can say it. The LNC that will not disaffiliate New Hampshire is a bunch of fucking cowards. They have gotten worse, saying that ungrateful blacks should be deported. And you want to know who's on the social media team, because that motion hasn't passed yet, that it needs to be secret? Ben Weir is on the social media team.
You're saying that Ben Weir is on the social media team for the Libertarian Party? A national,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Okay. And what are your thoughts on that motion, by the way? I imagine that you're not a fan of it.
Okay, I'm going to give you some information.
Okay.
I've got to look up a transcript. This was a podcast that Brian McWilliams did. And remember, I was on the phone with you the other day, and you can say what I said. I cannot say anything negative about staff while I'm on the LNC. Mm-hmm. Both you and Kyle can attribute to that I absolutely refused to say anything negative about staff while I was on the LNC. I'm not on the LNC now. Let me find this transcript because I have it buried in some of my notes. This is absolutely inappropriate for staff. One moment.
You're fine. I want to make sure that we aggregate a couple questions as well while you're looking.
And by the way, I can stay on as long as people want.
Sure. But thank you. We have a couple questions, first of all, as to what you are wanting Adrian Malagon investigated for specifically.
His absolutely abusive behavior to other LNC members.
Okay. And I'm not sure if this was answered or not, Hector. You'll have to say whether you think it was, but I'm just reading verbatim. Can you follow up about she means, maybe what she means, that Nikayla knew of her LP Colorado activities? I think that's, what do you mean by the fact that Nikayla knew about that?
I called him the night before and I told him what I knew JJ's opinion was. And I told him what the opinion of Colorado delegates were. And I told him what we intended upon continuing with the convention. And he goes, "What do you want me to do?" And I said, "Well, what I'd really like you to do is recognize the convention. But I realize that your position now is that you stay out of state affiliate matters. So I wish the LNC to just stay out of it then." Nikayla had every opportunity at that time to say, "I think this is wrong. And if you show up there, you are going to face consequences." Nikayla absolutely knew and said nothing.
Mm-hmm. All right, gotcha.
So let me read you that again. This is like a YouTube transcript, so it might be a little off, but this was on Brian McWilliams' personal show.
And what's
there
the
is
date?
a
Sorry.
Oh God, I can get you that in a minute.
I just want to know, like, if it was recent or if it was.
It's recent.
Okay.
And it will be dated by the contact itself, so you will know it's after a certain date.
All right.
There is a post that I would say single-handedly done more damage to the Libertarian Party that has been done in the 3 or 4 years at least. Now, remember, in the past 3 years, we had a post that had the happy merchant theme on it with the anti-Semitic meme. So he thinks it's more damaging than that. And that is the one that was posted about Pride Month. That very innocuous thing posted about Pride Month. And let me tell you, if any of you out there have a problem with us advocating for the flourishing rights and dignity of gay people, the problem is you. And I will say that 10,000 times over. And then he said, and that is the one that was probably about Pride Month. It had a rainbow colored porcupine, which I feel like getting tattooed on my arm now. It had nothing to, I had nothing to do with this post. I thought it was all supposed to be anonymous who had to do with what post. By the way, even as comms director, and it's a tricky situation. Now remember, he's saying this publicly because I wouldn't talk about this if he said this privately. I'll try to explain things. Things are in motion to change. That's what this motion is about. But as comms director, I have input on messaging for the party guidance, where the messaging I feel should go, how I think communications are handled in social. Now, I'm supposed to have control over a social team. And I actually agree with that. The comms director does have ultimate supervisory authority over that. However, there is a faction. It's funny that he says that since he's a proud Mises Caucus member. However, there is a faction, and one of them is on the LNC. Staff does not attack the LNC. Now, I'm no longer on the LNC, but Mr. McWilliams, the LNC is your boss. You are not the boss of them. I'm no longer on the LNC. I can say what I want, which is a super left-leaning. It's not super left-leaning to support the rights and dignity of gay people. The LNC has always stood for that, which is a super left-leaning. I'll refrain from using choice words about this person. So he was refraining from using choice words about one of his bosses. Is that appropriate for a staff member? Which is, but a super left-leaning ideologue.
Where was that message?
This is in a podcast. It's on his podcast, and I could get you the link to it.
Yeah.
I can get you the link to it.
As a general rule, I don't think social media should be policed, but I got where you're coming from. I'm with you.
Yeah, but when you're a staff member, You should not be criticizing your bosses. Just like our private conversation, I refuse to say anything negative about a staff member. Nobody would have known we had that conversation. This person was giving access to our socials, and it's something which I cannot currently revoke. So this is what the current motion is actually about.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Steve Nicola gave access to somebody who was an open supporter of someone who, and I'll say it because I'm not in the LNC now, let her sue me because I want discovery, who embezzled from the party. And in fact, this staff member supports someone who embezzled from the party. That is not appropriate.
So, Colorado Convention is apparently improperly noticed for certain processes, not all of them. Colorado Convention happens. There's a dispute as to whether any of it is valid. Then Adrian Malagon presses for your investigation. You fire back, also press for his investigation. Stephen Nicola rules both of you dilatory. Once again, has some choice words for you. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but something to the effect of, that you hold up processes, and basically that you have petty personal grievances and disputes. Again, I'm not getting the words verbatim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why was resignation the best route here? Why resign now? You said you've been talking about it for a few weeks. Why was that the straw that broke the camel's back?
Because Steve absolutely broke his promises and refuses to hold Adrian Malagon accountable. I actually think the LP, and Meredith keeps saying that, oh, you're going to sue the LP now. Let me tell you what I did send an email to the LP on, and I don't mind saying this publicly. Adrian's a very vengeful bastard. He isn't against Angela because she embezzled. He's been against Angela for months. Adrian actually supports what she did with Donald Trump. He's against her because he did not get the power that he wanted, and she denied it to him. He actually supports her agenda. Adrian always gets his revenge. He's been attempting to get revenge for me for months. That's why in deciding to vote for him, I extracted that promise for him that he would not go after me. And I told him, and I told Paul, if he went after me, I would go after him. And all of this was completely upfront. Well, I would go after him if he continued his bad behavior. If he didn't, then obviously things that happened last term, they're over with. When you're back on a new term, your last term is completely like wiped away because you got reelected. Que sera, sera. But Steve decided that he was going to go after me and retaliate against me. So when Steve said, and private pressure, let me tell you what that was. This morning, I forwarded to Steve my prior harassment policy, which I'm entitled to under the policy manual, complaints. And he called that private pressure. Yet the policy manual says that's to remain confidential. He did not keep it confidential, and he retaliated against me. If he went after both me and Adrian, again, I wouldn't have liked it, but I would have accepted it. But he targeted me. Whereas everyone on the LNC knows that Adrian is abusive. All of you have seen it in meetings, but there's things you haven't seen. And they're not executive session because I will not reveal anything from executive session. I will not break my NDA. But saying to Andrew Chatterton, whether you like him or not, that his parents are inbred and he's the product of some kind of like intergenerational incest. Do you think that's appropriate for a nonprofit board? Do you think it's appropriate for a nonprofit board to say that he's so fat that he needs to hibernate for winter? Remember, he made fat jokes against Beth Best. You know, he said on Twitter that my husband doesn't sleep with me. That's sexual harassment. I reported that. Nothing happened. He's made derogatory comments about my hygiene. Let me explain that. When I stay at a hotel, because I have pink hair, it bleeds, and I am courteous. So when I stay at a hotel, I take a sponge bath. I do not use their shower because my pink hair will stain their white showers. I think that is completely inappropriate for a guest. So I do not. I bring my own towels so that I do not stain their white towels. Well, Adrian used that to claim that I don't bathe. Is that appropriate? Then he just publicly said, I'm constantly begging for money. When is the last time that I ever asked anyone for a GoFundMe? Kyle can answer that. It was to go to the Already Against the Next War, or what was it? No, I'm sorry. Rage Against the War Machine protest. That was nearly a year ago. I've been working 4 jobs for nearly a year. Adrian also lied and said I don't attend convention oversight committee meetings. Go ask Pat Ford. I've attended all but 1, maybe 2, and we meet every week. I'm not even on that committee, and I've attended more meetings of that committee than actual members of that committee. That is an outright lie by Adrian. That action should be taken against. Pat Ford will tell you that I have done more work so far for that committee than anybody else.
We have a question from Chris Townsend asking if you can give examples of what you call Stephen Nikila's duplicitous nature. You said a little bit about that, how he violated a promise that he made to you, but Chris wants to know if there's anything more specific than that.
Well, that's the main thing. So when we all agreed, and we did have, whether people like this or not, listen, I'm going to tell you the good and bad and ugly, whether it makes me look good or not. When it looked like Michael Heiss was going to be chair, a group of us had our own little conversation, and we agreed that even though we don't like each other, we didn't like Michael Heiss more. And we banded together to make sure that Michael Heiss wasn't chair. And we agreed on Stephen Nikila. But there were some votes that were but one of the conditions was Adrian would not vote for Stephen unless he was guaranteed an at-large spot. I can tell you, I did not want to vote for Adrian for at-large, but we needed his vote. So the promise we extracted from Stephen Nikila, and it wasn't just me, it was me, and then not directly, I whipped Bill Redpath, Dustin Nana, and Keith Thomas with Stephen's promise that if Adrian got out of line, that he would ask for his resignation. And Stephen did not. Instead, at every turn, he has ignored Adrian's bad behavior. And Meredith can say pure lie, but she wasn't at any of these meetings. And I can give you emails from months ago. Like, if I'm making this up, I am a Svengali who planned evidence back in early May for a story that I was going to tell today, because I confronted Stephen about that. I'd like to read the complaints I made to Stephen.
Sure. Go
if
ahead.
You don't mind.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And these, by the way, we do have a harassment policy under the policy manual. And that is what this is about. Hold on one second, because it's in my email. And I've got a bunch of fucking emails, but I'm trying to
sure,
find.
especially today, you probably do.
Yeah, this is on my personal email. I in fact deleted. I don't know if the LNC's revoked my access yet. It doesn't matter. I deleted Outlook. I deleted all of the programs that give me any kind of access to LNC. So because it is the weekend and I know staff's not available tomorrow, so I don't have any access to any LNC things. 1 second here. Oh no, I saved these back when they happened because I knew something might happen when Steve was breaking his promises. So this isn't in my email. I actually need to get into a drive here.
Sure.
If you want to talk while I am pulling this up on a Google Drive.
Sure. Rob, you've been quiet. I've been asking questions. Caryn's been answering them. If you have commentary to insert, now is the time and place.
I'm just here so I don't get fined. No, I'm learning. I'm like the least educated person on libertarian national politics. I've been thrust into this and catching up to speed. We got a bunch of people viewing, and that's cool. I appreciate everyone tuning in. People are passionate. I mean, that's good to see, right? Like people still care. That's heartening.
Yeah. I think, we've done a lot. And when I say we, I mean all of us in the chat, everyone at every level to redeem this party and to build it back to something that is even stronger and more formidable and more successful. I don't think any of us is giving up on that. And it is good to see the passion here. It's very good to see that there are people, especially at the local levels and the state levels, that are taking action and taking initiative to take this party back. Because that's, I think there's a lot that needs to be worked on together. And this is what we're trying to do. So again, this is part of why we bring on people that not everyone agrees with, and try to get multiple angles. So yeah, I too, Rob, am heartened by the people who are on here and who are having lively debates. I imagine that it's not the most comfortable chat for various people to be in, but we will get Meredith, we will get you on later. And you can speak with Caryn Ann directly, and I'm sure that will really bump up the ratings. So that'll be fun. Kyle's getting a drink, by the way, so I don't know what kind.
Oh, and that's fine. And I'll be happy to send you a copy of these emails, but I'm going to read them. But if you need to see the evidentiary proof, I have no problem with it. This is dated Tuesday, May 13th. So, I had to be a really wily person to plant this. And I'm going to read
sometimes your brandy comes in big glasses.
Yeah. So, subject, I am just going to reduce things to email. Now, let me tell you why the subject says that. Because before this, I made numerous complaints to Stephen by phone call, which did nothing. So I decided by May 13th, but we're talking May, since February, I already had numerous calls complaining to him. And he kept saying, well, we're going to adopt this decorum policy or whatever. And it's very good, by the way, proposed by Jonathan McGee. And I can't do anything till then. You're the fucking chair. Yes, you can. But because he was ignoring everything by phone, I started putting things in writing. So I'm going to read the entire email. May 13th, I'm just going to reduce things to email. I will not fill up your texts further because I also have texts that we can go back through. I'm going to lay out my view here to the board officers. This email went out to the entire board officers. I was made a promise when I agreed to vote for Adrian for at-large. I helped to secure some votes based on that promise, that if he continued acting the same way, he would be asked to resign. He has gotten out of line more times than can be counted. Other LNC members, quote, on our side, unquote, are fed up as well, but go ask them yourself. I will not speak for them. Adrian's email was the last straw. This is the third time he has insulted my personal appearance and gone way out of decorum. This is an extremely hostile work environment. Not that I'm sure that it even applies in the nonprofit world, which I'm not, and not saying that in any technical or legal sense of the word in any shape, manner, or form, but I am appealing to both of your professionalism. I should have said all three of yours because this was sent to the officers. You would never tolerate the way he talks about me in your business life. I also made a promise to you, Steve, that if I had an issue, I would keep it private and not in the LNC list, public or private. Bold. I kept that promise, end bold. But implied in that was, and you would take care of it. It hasn't been taken care of. It is not fair for me to keep to my word and you not to carry on the second half. I also kept my second promise to drop the suit. That is the derivative suit. Steve pressured me to drop that derivative suit. And I believe there was an understanding that you would have my back against his, meaning Adrian's bullying, unless I deserved it. I want a rebuke on that thread for his behavior against me. I should not have to be bullied for 3 months. He cannot like me. That is fine. But this bullying needs to stop. I will not text you further. If I have an issue, I will write out an email. I have no idea what is going on here, why he, and only he, gets away with murder. It isn't right. I do not plan on addressing him on the email unless it is a point of order or something official. But I consider myself released from my promise as the deal was not kept. By the way, I still kept the promise, even though I said I thought I was released from it. You will likely see no difference as I have no desire to have any fights with Adrian in front of the board. It is embarrassing and would be against the new proposed code of ethics. But I am very disappointed that I was left out in the cold like this. And I do not believe that the code, meaning the code of ethics, will be enforced against him. And then I went on about something Ben did, but I thought Ben was really acting out of emotions, and I excused what Ben did. Whether I was right or wrong is another matter. And the way Jesse was spoken to wasn't right either. And the overt bullying threats on that thread were not right. That was reported on Third Party Watch. I have no idea who gave that to George Phillies, but Ben threatened people on the LNC. I kind of excuse Ben. I like Ben despite what's going on with LPNH. When Ben first posted, I knew he was just letting off steam. I called him. We talked things through and he understands my position. But to repeat them to a brand new LNC member was not acceptable. And that's not like Ben. So that was my first official complaint. And then let me find the next one. Oh, I did a follow-up to that one email. Correction. As I am now scrutinized more than anyone, this last email was an overt attack on my appearance. The last one was a veiled attack on my hygiene. And the third was an overt attack on my hygiene on Twitter. So that was still that. Now we go to April 7th. Let me make sure this is a correct one. Okay. This is after an LNC meeting. I said, I'm only copying Steve here for information as I know he's officially now out of pocket. He was on vacation. So I wrote Paul instead of Steve, only because Steve was on vacation. Paul, thank you for taking my call this morning. I want to memorialize what I said and anything I might have missed. Adrian's behavior last night was without excuse. His abuse of me in the notice thread where he said that I should not talk unless, I'm editorializing right here for a moment, that I should not talk unless spoken to, which is just extremely demeaning. And I said, and this cannot continue. I express to you that this has not most definitely moved into personal harassment. I meant to say it has. I always add weird knots. I am not merely speaking of the silly podcast motions, which are completely out of order, but his open attempts to publicly humiliate me by claiming I should only speak when spoken to, and that my email access should be restricted like a school child. I am nearly beyond my wits' end with this, and something must be done. The outburst, and now I'm defending Chatterton, even though I don't like Chatterton. That outburst between him and Chatterton last night over staff issues also has me very concerned, as I believe, name redacted, would have an excuse to sue, even a frivolous. Honestly, that outburst should earn him removal from the EPCC. That was beyond unprofessional. In any event, EPCC is not my area. I'm just bringing up that concern to you. What is my area is his continued harassment of me, and I demand that this stop. This is all the way back in April. And let me tell you, I never, to any of those emails, even got the courtesy of, I received your email, we're looking into it. And then once I resign, after all of these complaints, Stephen wants to appoint Adrian as secretary pro tem. First of all, he doesn't have the authority to do that. Just like Angela didn't have the authority to grant Trump a honorary membership. It has to be a vote of the LNC. Steve is very woefully ignorant on rules and needs to hire a parliamentarian, which I've told him for months. But he is rewarding Adrian's bad behavior. And just like Steve knew what was going to happen with me submitting the paperwork in Colorado, he knew what was going to happen the next day at convention, but he pretends like he hasn't. I had high hopes for Steve, but I have absolutely no confidence that he can chair this party. This is another reason why I resigned, because he just allowed, I don't know what Adrian has on him. Maybe Adrian doesn't have anything on him. I'm trying to come up with some kind of plausible explanation as to why he would allow this to continue to happen. As far as Adrian being abusive, don't just trust me. Maybe have some at-larges on, because people who aren't at-large, I'm not at-larges, regionals. People who aren't regionals won't say anything because they're scared of getting removed. The LNC lives in a culture of fear, and I decided, fuck that. I am not living with that any further. And this motion to make Brian McWilliams in charge of everything, without the LNC even being aware of who the volunteers are, isn't that what happened under Angela McArdle? Not knowing who volunteers are, but keeping the LNC out of critical decisions? Now, I agree volunteers should be anonymous. Now, I know some members don't agree with that, but I do agree our volunteers should be anonymous, but not anonymous from the LNC. What if I happen to have some information? Now, I'm not in the LNC anymore, but say when I was, if I happened to have some information that I just didn't feel like bringing up to everyone because I was still confirming things, that someone was, say, a Democrat operative, and then all of a sudden I saw they were on our social media team. How could I exercise my due diligence to warn the chair if I don't even know the identity of the people who are in charge of one of our greatest assets? And then each year, when contract renewal comes up for staff, we have to evaluate their performance. How can the LNC know whether they deserve a raise, whether we should renew their contract, if we can't even see the people that they chose for the social media team to know if they made wise decisions?
Yeah, and the argument with which I disagree, is that this is going to eliminate personality conflicts. The thing is, the tweets being removed, that didn't have anything to do with personality conflicts. The personality conflicts rose out of philosophical conflicts. And I think we're in agreement that there is a great deal of timidity on the board proper and within the party. It's, you know, it's a byproduct, I think, of loving the nap a lot and not liking confrontation. But people will do very harmful things and allow for a great deal of aggression in the interest of avoiding confrontation. And that's one of the difficulties I think that we've had with a lot of boards in the past, certainly.
And let me tell you another reason why I resigned, because you asked. Because I know Adrian's going to keep coming after me. My primary concern right now is my own state. I am hoping this can be peacefully resolved within the own state. Let me tell you the point of view of the people who are in opposition to the current board. We absolutely don't believe Hannah Goodman and Jim Wiley have a place in the future party unless they repent. I believe in redemption arcs. But we have some hardworking Mises people here. And I was part of the Mises cult. And we want to work with those Mises people. We do not want this to escalate into any kind of legal or whatever. We want to come together and arrive at a consensus. And I realized I could not do that while I was on the LNC because Adrian would continue to come after me. So I had to decide whether I was going to put my state first or national first. And that was a difficult conversation because I know my vote is needed in national. And with me leaving, probably Mises is going to take over national again. However, my primary loyalty is to my state. And we're trying to avoid legal or any kind of other action. We want to make peace here. And when Steve betrayed me this morning, and I'm going to read you, I have no secrets here, whether it makes me look good or not. I'm going to read you a text that Stephen sent me. First of all, before I resigned, I tried to call Steve. He was emailing the LNC board. Now, I know allegedly he's on vacation, but let me say quite candidly, for a brand new chair, he's been on vacation more than Angela McArdle ever was. But I respect that. He's got a young child, but he was emailing the list, so he obviously was available. He said to me, look, I hear you're going to resign. I'm not happy with the LNC as a whole right now. Then why didn't you say that rather than just attacking me?
Right.
I'm going to step away from the computer for a few days. I'm sorry, you can't do that as LNC chair. You may not agree with how I approach this. That's the understatement of the year. And you may be very upset to me. If you're going to resign, I would ask that you defer to vote in a replacement. Do it for Paul and Bill. So he's trying to guilt me into two people I admire greatly, Paul and Bill Redpath. No. Otherwise, we can talk in a few days. So he wants me to take this abuse for a couple of days. And this is what I said to him. And this may not be kind. I'll tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. I said, I am not. Your post today stabbed me in the back. I'm done. And then when he posted that self-serving post on Twitter about how he wishes me the best and all that fucking bullshit after he stabbed me in the back, I said, you are a dishonest, backstabbing bastard. Never talk to me again. Because one thing I'm not is a duplicitous person. If I think you're a piece of shit, I'm going to tell you you're a piece of shit. And one thing I am not is a fucking coward. Steve could have turned this LNC around. And unfortunately, I have to tell everyone out there, I don't think this LNC can be saved.
It takes a lot of...
Go to Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
Go to Grand Rapids and take this party back. I'll tell you, I've canceled my monthly donation to the LNC. I've never done that in my life unless I didn't have a job. I'm going to support other liberty causes. I can't in good faith support the Libertarian Party of Colorado. Perhaps I'll send the donation to some other state party that I think is doing good work.
LP Wisconsin.
Yeah, LP Wisconsin is doing good work. Perhaps I'll rejoin, because I was not a voting member, but I was just like a adjunct member or whatever.
We'd love to have you. Yeah, we'd love to have you.
You know, I'll join a couple other state parties because I believe in liberty. But I have completely lost faith in Steve Nikela. Let me tell you some things. Every time I heard something was going on, Adrian's been going behind Stephen Nikela's back, calling him a ballless coward. And I called Stephen Nikela and told him that. And I go, I'm not going to tell you who told me, and you can discount what I have to say. But I don't like being stabbed in the back, and you're being stabbed in the back right now. Adrian wants to be chair of this party. Everyone knows this. Everyone sees this.
I know that Adrian has told me directly that he intends to step down he intends to step down from California at the convention this year, and he doesn't intend to go again for at-large, but
I don't see that one way or the other. You know, that could be true. That could not be true.
No, I actually believe that. But he's going to stay on at large at the rest of this. But he's on EPCC, and staff has a lot of control. And remember, Stephen is in favor of being the Republican farm team. I mean, that's Stephen. I don't believe Stephen's in favor of that. Adrian is in favor of that. And by the way, Adrian has continued his insults of Chase just continuously.
It takes a lot of courage to, I think, do what's necessary for this party. And it takes being willing to be disliked and be firm and engage in confrontation. Again, that is something that a lot of libertarians don't like to do. And it is disheartening when there is an opportunity to change, there's an opportunity to do really bold things, and people just feel hindered and, timid and nervous of offending the wrong people, and especially people who really want to be liked, right? And have internalized that, power is being liked. And the more people you can get to like you, the more powerful you will be. But if you don't do anything with that, then it's not worth anything, right? People just like you, and it's not for anything. It is true that, whoever has the party for the next several months is going to have it until Grand Rapids. And you're absolutely correct that Grand Rapids is that moment that we've been building to, right? All of the state victories that we've had, that we've seen, it's, the fight's just getting started, but in a really cool and empowering way. But yeah, Grand Rapids is going to be an overhaul. It's going to be an overhaul in a lot of ways. So we're stoked for people to come out and help us with that.
But don't count on the LNC.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you something really terrifying. Okay, the LNC's falling apart. Okay, I don't think I'm going to be the first resignation. I don't know any of this for a fact. But don't be surprised if they even vote in Angela McArdle as chair again. We need to go and take back Grand Rapids. And let me tell you something that I think needs to be said that the LNC didn't want to say for whatever reason. Yes, Angela McArdle embezzled that money for freedom calls, but it's more than that. She diverted funds by directly supporting another candidate to the tune of over $1 million. It is insane to me that the LNC is not going after her. It is absolutely insane to me. And there was there were a bunch of in chat saying Red Path for chair for 2028. I've told Kyle this personally. This may not be good for him, but I absolutely endorse Bill Redpath for chair in 2028. Bill Redpath is a solid dude. Now, there are other people that I think would be good. I think Steve Dasbach would be good. But this is what I like about me and Bill. I'm a radical as they come. Bill is a moderate. But oh my God, does that man have principles? And again, he might not be who the LP Alliance endorses, but I personally, and let me tell you something, maybe I shouldn't say this because he said this to me in private, and if he gets mad at me, I'm asking for forgiveness ahead of time. I called Bill ahead of time to let him know I was going to resign. By the way, I called Paul ahead of time to let him know I was going to resign. I tried to call Steve ahead of time, but he decided he wasn't going to answer my call, even though he was answering LNC emails. Bill said to me, well, I want you to know that you have done secretarial abilities way above and beyond, and that you are one of the best, if not the best secretary this party has ever had. And if Bill runs again, I would consider it, because it would be an honor to serve under Bill Redpath. But right now, I actually have no plans for that. I want to spend time with my husband, but I haven't ruled it out. I'm just saying that I haven't ruled it out. But I obviously, by my resignation, I am not going to pretend anymore that this LNC is okay. It's not. As long as Stephen Nikela supports abuse, and it's not just me. And I don't care whether you like these people. Integrity, just like free speech, integrity means you stand up for people you don't like. Just like free speech means you stand up for speech you don't like. He abuses Austin Martin. He abuses Andrew Chatterton. He abuses Aaron Lamb. Now, Aaron, I actually do like. He doesn't really do too much. Like he doesn't, he's very busy as mayor, of a town in Colorado. But I am standing up for the people that I'm not best friends with, though I do like Austin, actually. He's a little strange, but I like him. I'm a little strange, too. I absolutely dislike Andrew Chatterton, but it doesn't matter. He does not deserve to be treated that way.
I want to address.
Steve has let that go on and on. And the way he abused Todd Hagopian.
I want to address something Hector is saying. I don't know why saying that something is a direction is a bad thing. We absolutely want a direction for this party. This party is in desperate need of direction. But we, and by we mean everyone, are not taking the party back as much as we are taking the party forward. That is what we plan to do. That is what we will do in Grand Rapids. So again, that is we, that is all of us. So yes, it is a direction, but it's forward, not back. How do I make this go away?
No, I
message
agree with you. You want to know what? I was on a show with Dave Smith and Michael Heiss back when I was in the Mises cult, and I do call it a cult, and I make zero apologies for that. I was pushing back against the takeover language. I think that takeover language was incredibly destructive. When I was in the Radical Caucus used to have a domain name called Take Back the LP. Mm-hmm. And I pushed back against that as well. Mm-hmm. It's incredibly divisive. Mm-hmm. So I just want us to be libertarian again. And obviously my resignation should show to people I'm not here for fucking power. It makes me throw up in my mouth when people call me a politician. I'd probably be a lot more successful on the LNC if I was a politician, but I'm not. I'm wrong. I'm wrong sometimes. And if people, as I say in chat, thinks I did something wrong, if I actually think I did, I'll give you an apology. If I don't, I'll tell you, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. But I always do what I believe is right, no matter the cost. Let me tell you something. On Friday night, because I was tipped off that Adrian was intending upon making his motion, I knew what he was going to do if I went to that convention. And I did it anyway. And let me tell you something, I would do it again. because I am not here for power. I never have been. I am here for principle. I am not right all of the time. I've been an asshole. I've been wrong. And when I realize it, I apologize. At the Colorado Convention, I apologized for being one of the primary architects of the Region 1 agreement, which disenfranchised the delegates to be able to elect the regional alternates. I was wrong, and I apologize. And I will always do that. I got drawn into the cult. That doesn't excuse me. Let me tell you something a pastor once said to me. It doesn't make it right, but it makes it understandable. I should have seen earlier what the Mises Caucus became, but it was not that way in the beginning. Now, I know some people like Archie think it was that way in the beginning, but I'll remind everyone Archie was in the Mises Caucus too. It was not that way in the beginning. We had a noble cause. And for people think like I was all paleo libertarian, no, I wasn't. I'm center left. I'm bisexual. I've got pink hair. I'm flamboyant. Like, no, I'm not a paleo libertarian. We did not start this way, but we ended up this way. And let me tell you something about me, and this might seem self-serving. The minute I saw Angela was wrong, our friendship ended in one day. Most people's friendship ends over a course of time. I confronted her. I told her she was wrong, and she stopped talking to me that day. Then I learned other people on the LNC suspected something was wrong, and they let it go on for months. I didn't. And I've got texts to prove it. I'm not saying they knew, because I'm not accusing anyone on the LNC of anything. But I do think they waited too long, and they persecuted me when they knew I was doing the right thing. And I'll say it again, because now you can't do anything to me. And if you try to pass a libelous accusation against me, see what happens. Because I'm in fuck around and find out mode right now. Let me tell you, tomorrow, if I had to put Chase on the ballot in Colorado, just like I said to the investigatory committee, I would abso-fucking-lutely do it again, because that is the duty of the National Party. And I was not even a Chase supporter at that time. Ashamedly, I was a Rechtenwald supporter. I voted no to at convention. I am now a Chase supporter because I have seen what kind of man he is. And he is a good man, a man of integrity. And I was wrong not to support him. But it didn't matter. I turned in and lost my position over a person I didn't even support because it was the right thing to do. And that's the kind of person I am. And I will do things that are wrong sometimes. But I ask people to trust that at the time I do them, I at least believe they are right. They're not always right. I'm not perfect. And if I owe anyone an apology, come to me. If I agree with you, I will freely and unconditionally apologize. And I won't apologize in a bitch way. The bitch way is, oh, I'm sorry you were hurt. That like kind of puts the blame on you. I'm sorry you're such a thin-skinned bitch. No, if I did something wrong, you will get, and I agree. I won't apologize for things I don't think I did wrong. But if I agree, you will get my unconditional apology.
I just want to say that this is an argument that Kyle and I literally had last night. I was telling Kyle that I enjoyed choosing not to have feelings, and he informed me that I couldn't choose not to have feelings. But having feelings is a choice. and I choose not to have feelings about many things. Anyhow,
Technically, she's lying to you. The
I'm
argument was over
not-
emotions and not feelings.
Well, I
and
mean,
those
I
are different
choose not
things.
to have those either. We did have a question, a lighter question, from Jocelyn asking about the future for the Historical Committee and LPedia. Thanking you for your hard work on that.
Mhm.
Are those still going to be projects of yours?
Oh, Adrian's moved to remove me from all of that. So you
Okay.
can thank Adrian for perhaps the death of that project. We do have plans individually
Mm-hmm.
on our own privately to continue that without
Okay.
the LNC and not dealing with any of the LNC property.
Mm-hmm.
LNC property belongs to it. But you can thank Adrian for that. If you like the historical project, Adrian is being a vindictive bitch and trying to remove me from all committees. I voluntarily resigned from the bylaws committee, as Kyle will tell you, and he was very shocked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm automatically removed from APRC because that requires you to be an LNC member, and I resigned. But Adrian's being a salty bitch and trying to remove me from the historical committee. That's fine. I will still do that work on my own because that's a passion project. Adrian does not give a fuck about this party. He cares about himself, and he's made Stephen Nikela his bitch.
Do we want to, Kyle, you've been very quiet. Rob, you've said one thing. So it's been a very, very female dominated show, which I try to steer clear of because I hate the sound of my own voice. Do either of you have things to say? That's a lie. I love the sound of my own voice, but I have to pretend I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I just want you to know I resisted making a terrible sexist joke right there. Just for you, Amanda.
I love sexist jokes. What are you talking about?
No, I mean I'm learning. It's interesting. It's I feel like Caryn Ann's really holding back and not telling us how she truly feels.
Yeah, that's what I usually do, right? Let me tell you something about me. What you see is what you get. I will never show a face to you in private that I won't show in public. It's funny. Susan Hogarth had an example of this where someone was shit talking her in private. And I go, well, I've shit talked you. She goes, yeah, but you do it in public too. And that's true. If I'm going to shit talk you, I'll do it to your face and in private. I can be a bitch. I admit it. I'm trying to improve. I'm not perfect. I'm not proud of a lot of things I've done. I've hurt some people, and I wish to make amends because we're not perfect. And I'm a Christian, and I believe in a redemption arc. And I actually believe in a redemption arc for Angela McArdle if she were to repent of what she did. I don't think anybody is beyond redemption. Nobody, including Adrian, by the way. But I happen to think he's a sociopath and is incapable of that. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Douglas Jones wants to know, he says, I would sincerely like to know what the appeal of the Mises Caucus was when it was new. I think we've heard a little bit of that, but everyone has a different answer. So I'd be eager to get yours.
And that's Doug's from California, if you don't, I mean, not California, Colorado, if you don't know. I'm going to tell a story about Doug, and he might hate me. I helped the Mises take over Colorado. And Doug made a comment to somebody at the convention, and he said, damn, she knows what she's doing. I wish her guns weren't pointed at us. I had a confrontation with Nick Sarwark, and Nick Sarwark and I have reconciled, by the way. But I said to Nick, it seems like you're turning the party hard left. And this will sound just like Nick when I tell you. You can believe me or not. He said, Ms. Harlos, people think that because that's exactly what I'm doing. And I said, Nick, you know I'm going to oppose you, right? And he said, Ms. Harlos, you are going to do whatever it is you think you need to do. So Mises came in as the alternative to being far left. And when I mean far left, those of you in this group may agree with me. I think that Covington Catholic kids were bullied. I don't believe that boy that got completely demonized did anything wrong. I think political violence, that Black Lives Mattered, though I agree there is police brutality, I think the riots were wrong. I think the riots of January 6th were wrong. Doesn't matter whether it's right or left. I don't believe in political violence. So that was the attraction. Mises was promising that we would be libertarian instead of left. Even though I am center left, I don't think the party should be. I think the party should be libertarian. My husband is much more right wing, but he doesn't believe the party should be right wing. For most of my time in the party, actually, I still am pro-life, but I was much more like, I never really believed the government should be involved, but I think I thought the government should be involved a little bit more. But now I don't think the government should be involved at all. But when I joined the party, I accepted that it was never going to push for illegalization of abortion. And I just said, well, I disagree there. So when I joined Mises, they were a promise that we would become libertarian. And people in Colorado who want to pretend like Mises is the problem in Colorado, they are right now. But there was a clique here before Mises that was a problem. Mises came in and was like the anti-problem to the problem we already had. And I think the new group in Colorado has realized that, where we have all said, we don't have to love each other, but we have to work together. But by the way, Douglas Jones is awesome.
I'm typing to Kyle that I have a difficulty because I sort of need to use the bathroom. That would require me turning off my camera. If I turn off my camera, I have a joke profile photo that I forgot to change. So I might.
Technically speaking, I can do this for you.
And Meredith, I would suggest you go.
Oh, you should have made her put it up there.
I'm going to just say something to Meredith. I know she's coming on. Go search my timeline and you'll see that I've been saying I've been center left for 5 years. I'm sorry that's news to you.
Then we got really quiet. Amanda jumped off. That's what everyone loves is dead air,
I want
right?
Kyle needs to talk.
I can pick up on what Caryn was saying too, because Mrs. Caucus brought me in. I got no beef with like the original, like what Mrs. Caucus was saying.
You're still Mrs. Caucus.
One of the things, yeah, well, technically, North Carolina is so weird. It's
Still
so
counts.
weird because we like all got thrown out. But yeah, I mean, I'm not changing anything. I'm doing what I do. But we, and I've been a registered libertarian for a very long time. I've given money. I've volunteered at points. It was difficult earlier for me to get involved because of like investment advising jobs. But even when I could, it was kind of like we were always sort of the little fish in the big pond. And I just remember Misa saying, like, we're going to take some big swings. Like, it's time to really get serious about stuff. And I was like, this is what we need to hear because we got, you know, Trump and Hillary and then Trump and Biden, like things. How much worse can it get? And do we really want to kind of test that? Like, I'm ready to do whatever it takes. And then the COVID tyranny happened. I don't know how that wasn't the tipping point for a whole lot of people. I don't know. It feels like the old adage, like power really does corrupt, and none of us are immune except maybe Thomas Massey.
And you know, this isn't an excuse because I'm taking full responsibility. I was extremely hurt person in 2021 when I really got close with the Mises Caucus, and they love bombed me. I was very lonely and I was very hurt. And that's what cults they take advantage of. And then you get the acceptance of the cult. And to lose their acceptance feels like you're losing the world. And I did things I'm not proud of because I was hurt. Hurt people hurt people. I know that is a cliche, but it's true. I'm much stronger now, and I'm looking to make amends for people I genuinely hurt. And I wish the people that hurt me would make amends. And some of them have, and others haven't. And I listened to a great book, and I know this is going to sound so fucking cheesy, but I love self-help books. And there's a book I just listened to called Let Them. And it brought me so much peace. People are going to do things. Adrian is going to be an asshole. Let them. But the second part of let them is let you. Let them do what they're going to do. And then let yourself do what you're going to do. And right now, I'm exposing the rot in the LNC. I'm sorry, this LNC is lost. Come to Grand Rapids and take the party back. I don't think there's any saving this LNC. And that's a shame, because I respect the absolute fuck out of Paul Dar, Keith Thompson, Jesse Cowart, Dustin Nana, Greg Hirsch, and I'm really scared I'm going to forget somebody. That's why I don't like to name names. Pat Ford has had his own redemption arc. And Adrian's been talking all kinds of shit about Pat Ford, by the way. I'm trying to think who else. And listen, I know he's still Mises, and I don't know why, but I have the biggest soft spot in my heart for Travis Bost. I don't know why. I think I just like West Virginians, but I have the biggest soft spot in my heart for Travis Bost. And I hope he gets out of the Mises cult. And if he does, I will have my arms open to welcome him. And if I forgot somebody, please put in chat, because I hate forgetting anybody. But Keith Thompson is a fucking hero. And he's next to be targeted to be removed from the APRC, by the way. And you want to know what the complaint was about me being on the APRC? And I'm not going to mention staff names because I will not do that. We would have emails go out that say we're going to support candidates. And I would insist that the word libertarian go before the word candidates. But apparently I'm a pain in the ass for doing that. You want to know who got the immigration page changed from that status piece of shit that was on there before? I did. Anyway, this is the thing. They thought they wanted me off the LNC. Well, bitches, you got what you want, because now I'm ungagged and I am going to say what I want. Y'all are fucked up, and I don't think there's any saving this LNC. Go to Grand Rapids and take it back.
Someone asked as well whether we had a slate, LPA did, that we were currently planning on endorsing. The answer is no, not yet. We are working on aggregating candidates who are interested, and we're working on doing that on another website of ours that we're building out. So people who are interested in being candidates, reach out and let us know. But again, this is about you guys, and so it's about your input into what you want from an LNC. Again, this is about taking it forward, all of us. And so if you have ideas for what you are looking for in leadership, let us know. Let us know who you would like to see nominated, and that will help us. That will help us all make a decision. So we're working on an LP merit site, sort of like a ballotpedia, but for libertarians, that you can hopefully will also be able to use endorsement boxes to endorse preferred candidates. But again, this is for you guys. So any candidates that you want, let us know, and let them know too, because it would be weird if you didn't tell them that you wanted them to run.
Somebody did ask in chat if I'm planning on running in 2026. I haven't ruled it out. It's going to depend. Okay, because there's one thing, y'all can hate me or like me. One thing you know, I'm going to say what I think is right. And I think I've proven myself in the past year. I might. I haven't ruled it out because I'm taking a break right now. It might just be the break that I need. I can't serve under Stephen Nikela. If he's a chair candidate, I can't do it. He's shown absolutely no backbone. And he's let bullies.
Stephen has said that he's not running again for chair.
Okay.
I don't know if that is official.
I don't take anyone at their word on that.
If Bill Redpath runs for chair, yes, I will.
But, if Bill Redpath runs for chair, Amanda's never going to get anything done.
I like Bill Redpath's voice a lot. I think he's got a melodious voice.
There's several people I would support. I've talked with Kyle about this. I would support Evan McMahon. I would support Stephen Dasbach. There's probably others that I'm not thinking of. So it would depend upon who the chair candidate is. But no, I haven't ruled it out. Jim Wiley has claimed he's running for secretary. The dude can't even keep a fucking calendar.
He can keep it. He just can't read it.
Okay, I'm going to say something, and I'm not going to say who originally said it because I'm not on the LNC. I can say whatever I want to right now. I had heard somewhere that Jim Wiley is the love child between Wendy and Chucky.
I've heard someone say that too, and I'm not going to say who said that.
I'm not going to say who said it either.
But we might have heard it from the same person. I
didn't originate it.
The person who has been telling people that one is definitely not on the stream.
Kyle, have you heard that before? Has someone said that to you before?
I don't know.
In
I don't
a way,
know for sure.
In a manner of speaking, someone said that to you.
Nope.
And anyway,
definitely not.
Everyone I've told that to has nearly snorted whatever they happen to be drinking out their mouth. Thank you guys for doing that stream. That exposed more than anyone else could why he is supremely unqualified to be chair of the LPCO.
He literally told
set up
us
on a phone.
He literally told us that he and Anna had committed gross negligence, but that they were the best option for Colorado. And it was just like, is this real life? It was wild. I do want to say,
but I'm going to interrupt you because you know this is what women do. Me and Amanda both have great asses, and so we get to interrupt you. Yes. We're both babies got back. Okay. So depending upon the chair candidate, I may run again. But if I don't, my plans are that me and Wayne are buying a touring motorcycle, and we are touring the mountains of Colorado. And those of you who watched the LPCO live stream, now some people were making fun of me for wearing a cape. I love capes. Capes are wonderful. I actually made that cape. I'm actually quite a talented seamstress, which I used to do before I was on the LP. And I actually was interested in getting into the Society for what is it? Anachronistic realism, I think it's called. That might be something I do. The LP isn't my life. It used to be. It really did. But I've got other interests right now. So maybe I will run. Maybe I won't. I know I'm a damn good secretary. Anyone who doesn't think so, I got to do my classic move. So y'all already knew you were taking risks when you put me on. I'm going to do my classic move. If you don't think I was a good secretary, kiss my libertarian ass. My fabulous libertarian ass. Like Amanda has a fabulous libertarian.
It's so good, I don't even have to show it.
You didn't show it.
I said it's so great I don't even have to show it. Just known. to everyone that I have a fabulous ass.
Caryn Ann is actively encouraging what the audience has repeatedly said they want. This is the kind of solidarity I'm for.
And I have the solidarity shirt too. What were you going to say, Kyle?
So, even if you think that the LNC is useless right now, even if you think that it's dead, I believe personally that the party isn't.
Oh,
I believe,
and I agree. I just so you know, I agree. People should not abandon the party.
Mm-hmm.
Strengthen your state affiliates and go to Grand Rapids. Another reason I resigned the LNC is because I'm fighting for Colorado right now. And I can't do both. And Colorado is more important. The party is not dead. If we don't win at Grand Rapids, I do think the party is dead. Oh, man, and I don't have any liquor, and I'm like whatever. Wayne, if you're listening, bring me some liquor. But that's why I'm going to give to some state parties, but I'm no longer giving to the LNC.
we got another one of the Swampcast people on here. Josh Lobga is actually like paying attention to us for once. That's unusual. I appreciate it, Josh. We've talked about it on LPA lots of times. We've got a bigger audience than normal, so I'm going to plug the things again.
Hi, audience.
Oh, Hector asked why Colorado is more important than the LNC. Because I live here. I mean, it's really. I got on the LNC originally to protect Colorado. I love Colorado. Colorado's where I live, so that's why it's more important. And honestly, I think there's a fighting chance in Colorado, and I think the LNC is lost until Grand Rapids. I mean, it doesn't give me any joy to say that at all. But I have to face reality. Stephen Akela is a fucking coward, and I can't follow a coward.
I'm going back to Ken's question, but Josh's comment made me happy. So Ken Molman asks, how do we stop LNCs from being train wrecks? While this LNC went to crap earlier than usual, my observation is they pretty much always go to crap in the last 6 months before convention. We had a conversation about this, believe it or not, in the very short bylaws committee meeting today. And it's because I think that there are some fundamental issues in the structure of the party that need attention. Right now, National exists kind of its own little island, which is a problem. And National has a ton of, technically, the XCOM has a ton of power over National, sort of, but then nothing over National messaging, really, and there's no way to force messaging through. So, like, you've got 17 people who are like, I don't think that's good messaging. And they're all arguing over things, and so we never get a message out at all. And we don't get press releases out that are timely because, I'm going to use my own state as an example here, and this is not in any way unique to LP Georgia. We put out a resolution condemning the Iran bombings. It takes at least 3 days to get the resolution through, and by that point, if you put out a press release, the newspapers and everyone else is going to be like, who the fuck cares? That was 3 days ago. That's old news. So I think that we need a press team. I think we need a team to sit there, and they have the ability to force these press releases out faster and everything else. I think that we need the ability for committees to basically act on their own very quickly and heavily. And if they're fucking up, that's where XCOM really steps in and is like, hey, y'all are doing this poorly, and that they're accountable. I told Stephen in private, and I've been public about it too. I think that the idea of the SMC being, the social media committee being less open, I understand the argument. I understand the idea that you don't want people to get swamped personally for things that they're saying, like in good faith. I think that especially right now, where we just watched our current background get ripped for being a fucking rainbow porcupine, it's bad optics, it's bad timing.
Let me tell you the
There's a lot of stuff going
reality.
on.
Volunteers were not getting ripped. There was one volunteer that got ripped because Steve Nikela got glad-handed at the Grand Rapids LNC meeting and didn't even check the social media of this guy and put him on the volunteer team. That's the one time that happened. You want to know who's getting ripped? Volunteers that are getting ripped, they're getting ripped by our communications director, as I read earlier. This isn't a problem. What this is an appeasement to a Mises Caucus communications director that supports an embezzling former chair. Anyone who votes yes on this motion should be shamed out of town. Now, before I resigned, I voted no. Before I resigned, I voted no also on the one that was going to deny Andrew Chatterton and Austin Martin and Aaron Lamb due process.
Drawing pictures. Okay. Someone asked, well, first of all, someone asked, what is the purpose of LP Alliance? We don't have a slate yet. So what are we actually trying to do? One of those things is getting a slate, but what else? You can find a very long page named Our Mission if you go to lp-alliance.com, and it will tell you
can
all
literally
of the things
just put this on
that
the
we're
screen.
trying to do. You can do that too. You are better with technology than I am. So part of my mission is making Kyle do all the tech things.
This is why she uses only Macs.
I also am terrible at drawing. So in addition to being bad at tech, I'm also bad at drawing. We talked about the structure of the LNC. This is something that I've been talking about a lot lately. So in the first place, we want to make it so that there is simultaneously more efficiency and more member empowerment in the LNC. Right now, the LNC is hierarchical and kind of pyramid structure, but then there are all these weird committees at the top that don't really talk to each other, but they kind of do, and then they have their own authority, and there's not a ton of oversight. And then at the bottom, you have the members and the state affiliates. Oh gosh, it's my face. Please don't do that. You have the members and you have the state affiliates. I hate this. I would rather just have the profile picture. Now, what we want instead is we want a hub and spoke model where you have the center, which is like the LNC, that's able to transact. The spokes are able to transact information to and from the center. The LNC stands as a communication, coordination, direction hub, right? So there's oversight. There is immediate accountability to all of these different points on the wheel. And again, it's not top down. It's not hierarchical. There's not a clear top and bottom here. There's more equanimity, yet there is a coordinating center. That is a very simplistic description of the type of restructuring that we need to see. Thank you, Jocelyn. I think it's a beautiful drawing too.
It's actually a good sort of description for what we've tried to set up with LPA.
Yes, that is exactly the model that we've gone for with LPA.
For LPA, we do have a 527 for LPA. Thank you so much, Angie Caney. And that is controlled by a spending committee that the members elected. She's chair. She's president.
Yeah.
And I'm a vice president because she told me I had to be.
As the president, I can do that.
She told me that I had to support her or she'd put me to death.
That's not what I said.
Technically, she said that I would go to Gulag. So the idea is that a spending committee has the ability to give money to our actual groups doing things, but that's it. So they can come forth and they can pitch an idea, and if the spending committee is like, that's something we should spend money on, we can give them money. But if they want to go out and they want to do their own thing, they want to raise their own money, they want to do their own funding, the spending committee can't stop them. We have no power over it. It is a very anarchical model. It's intended to let anybody do things. You know, you may be thinking like, well, Amanda and Kyle are always on the streams. That's because like we are two of the only people that have offered to be on every stream.
Now they just don't let us leave. They just lock
Right.
us in the back room.
Jake and Rose are on business list because they want to be. Rob's been saying that he wants to be on more, so Rob's been on more. Sarah said that she wanted to be on the business list this last week, so she was on the business list. We are all about people who are willing to do work, coming on and doing that work. We you know, like we get the accusations that we're secretly like MC pretty often, partially because our Discord does have a vetting process, and it's currently broken. Admittedly, it's currently very broken. We've got ideas to fix it.
Stop working. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ticket bot doesn't work.
At the end of the day, the thing that we're kind of worst on, ironically, given the number of people who are IT in the group, is an IT committee, is a team that cares about fixing the IT things. Every once in a while, Amanda will be like, Kyle, something's broken, you have to go care about it. And I will whine and then go care about it. Like, or I will go whine to someone else and then Sarah will care about it. And that's how we got a website. We would like to see more of that from the LP as a whole. Hector, are you actually banned? It's really rare for anyone to get banned.
I don't
No,
think...
it's not.
Oof. Okay, look. The thing Caryn Ann's pointing out is that she's the only person who's been banned twice.
And she's on our show. Not by either of us, mind you. This is part of what an anarchic structure looks like, is like we could not unilaterally unban her.
And that was actually a friendly joke. I've told both Kyle and Amanda, I have no intention to join any groups. Well, I do consider myself an ally of the LP Alliance. I'm not a member. I'm an ally of LP Radicals. I'm a radical at heart. I'm not a member. After what happened to me with Mises, I'm not joining, at least not for a long time. I don't want to ever say never, but I'm not joining for a while any groups. You know, I fall into groupthink, I think, maybe a little bit too easy as what was shown in Mises. So as I said to both Kyle and Amanda, I'm better off as a free agent. So that was just kind of like a friendly joke. I have been banned 2 times though, by the way, but I have no bitterness against it. I really don't.
I'm gonna personally call Phil out. He's the owner of the Discord. So anybody that gets an actual ban, it's somehow Phil's fault.
Technically, I think
You're welcome, Phil.
Admin can ban, but we don't use it very often.
I have no idea. I'm just blaming Phil.
Right.
So we've gotten a couple comments from people who missed the beginning. Hector asked about why the resignation, and then Frederick has asked, did we go into any details about Colorado? Do you want to give a quick summary of those, Caryn Ann, or do you want one of us to give it? Or
I think we both can. So I resigned because I've lost all faith in Stephen Nikala's chair. When push came to shove, when there was shit going down, he decided to throw me under the bus and not even mention Adrian's abuse. And he publicly retaliated against me for filing harassment complaints that I was able to do under the policy manual. I think he's completely unfit to be chair. That's why I resigned. I could not do it anymore. With LPCO, there is a difference in interpretation of bylaws. And though their parliamentarian has a certain very strong opinion, I happen
don't
to
believe
think...
Phil. He's lying. Definitely.
I let Caryn speak.
Yeah, I happen to think it's not a correct opinion. I will never have anything bad to say about his professional qualifications. But the delegates, Colorado is not a group he's a member of. And more than 30 people drove their asses out to Holyoke and they have a different interpretation of the bylaws. I understand he disagrees, but if the delegates believe there's an ambiguity, it is their right to interpret it, not some out-of-state parliamentarian's rights. And for someone to say, I took it over, I made motions. Because of Mises, half the people in that room probably hated my guts. I was not like, the figurehead. Did I help? Of course.
Ugh.
I'm a member.
As a backstage thing here, like I've talked about before, there's groups that are organizing all over the country, and I'm part of one of the bigger ones. The Colorado team, to be straight here, and a lot of that Colorado team showed up, was like, we're not working with Caryn Ann. And it was like, if you don't take help from people, you're being stupid. And, they thought about that, and they were less angry in things, but it was a thing. Like, she's not exaggerating. There was certainly effort to even have people tell Caryn Ann plans going on. And I was at a bunch of the meetings for those things. And Caryn Ann would consistently say, like, I'm not doing a parliamentary opinion. I'm not getting involved in this. What's with the chimes? Those are in your head, Hector.
What time?
Actually, I have people all day. People are, but I'd like to talk to Jamie, who actually I adore, where it says delegates have a right to interpret their bylaws. Michigan has a problem. Okay, I was speaking of Colorado and of a general rule. Michigan gives the Judicial Committee way more power than the Colorado bylaws give the Judicial Committee. So our Judicial Committee in Colorado isn't subordinate to delegates at convention. So it's two totally different situations. So in Colorado, the delegates at convention have the ultimate right to interpret the bylaws. And I understand.
I messed up. Go on.
Oh, it's okay. And I understand and totally respect that the parliamentarian retained by Colorado disagrees, but he's not a member of Colorado and he does not know the history of the bylaws. And the bylaws in question that he was interpreting, he truncated, and I was the author of them. So with all due respect, as I always have had all due respect for Mr. Jacobs,
we need more ads on screen.
Yeah, I just disagree. So for someone to call that fraudulent, I think takes a lot of balls. What it is a disagreement. And unlike others, I am trying to disagree with Mr. Jacobs respectfully, because I have never, ever put down his abilities. And obviously 30 people who trekked about 3 hours on average also disagreed. And I think the membership of Colorado, with all due respect, has more of a say than a parliamentarian from Pennsylvania, even a world-class parliamentarian, which JJ is. And I know some people disagree with me, and they can disagree with me all they want. I have the utmost respect for his professional ability.
So Richard Brown is another well-respected parliamentarian. I respect him enough, and on several recommendations around the country, including Caryn Ann's, Georgia hired him as a floor parliamentarian for our convention this last year. He's been repeatedly the convention parliamentarian for the LP. He's really good. He says here, Colorado does get to interpret its own bylaws, but I personally agree with JJ's interpretation here. I do see the ambiguity. That's, to me, kind of a big telling thing, that this is something that's ambiguous, and that it's down to a parliamentarian, even really good parliamentarians, really good in this case being, top in the field. It's something that's ambiguous. that's why it goes to the membership in the end.
Yes.
It's our at the end of the day, all language is a shitty way to communicate.
I mean, these bylaws weren't
I said
changed.
it that way because it makes Amanda mad.
These bylaws weren't changed that long ago. They were changed in 2023 when I was bylaws chair. So when it comes to original intent, like, I'm about as good as you can get. JJ's interpretation is not unreasonable whatsoever. But I was there when we argued for the change. My interpretation also is not unreasonable. So when you have reasonable people disagreeing, it goes to the delegates. And as I said, even some of the delegates didn't agree with me. Joe Johnson thinks we did fulfill the publication requirements. I don't believe we did, but let me give you an interesting example. He thinks the mention in IPR, Independent Political Report, fulfilled notice. I don't believe that, okay? So I agree with JJ on that point. However, another third party in Colorado did it through IPR. So LPCO indirectly is trying to invalidate the convention of the approval voting party who did it through IPR. So there's all kinds of ripple waves here. But at my urging, this convention did not elect directors. So for people to accuse me of fraud or negligence, I'm the one who convinced the delegates, pursuant to minor party law, we cannot elect directors. I did everything in good faith. I understand JJ disagrees with me, and I completely respect that. But the chair does not have unilateral authority. Delegates have the right to appeal the ruling of the chair, and delegates have the right to be wrong, even legally wrong. This wasn't some grand conspiracy from me. As Kyle said, they didn't even want to let me in the group. But I'm not going to say I didn't help. I'm a member. But I wasn't even a trusted member. So placing all of this on me is just really, really rich. But I will fight for Colorado.
I think this is a pretty fair question. What business was conducted at the LPC?
Oh, that's good. So minor party law says, certain things need to happen in order to elect party directors, nominate delegates, which obviously for national, which obviously wasn't this year, or to nominate public office candidates, which we did not have up. So what we did was bylaws amendments. We were going to do platform, but we ran out of time. Resolutions. We elected a judicial committee because that's not a party officer. And we adjourned to reconvene at a later date to elect party directors after the newspaper publication could take place. But it was my urging that caused us not to elect directors. So the way this is being framed is completely and utterly wrong. We did what we were allowed to do under notice, and the publication is not notice. It's procedural state law. But Roberts also says you cannot violate procedural state law. And I have the recording of the meetings where I told them, you guys cannot violate procedural state law. So the convention will have a part 2. We convene to a later date. And at that point, we will elect party directors. Now, whether the current sitting directors will recognize that or not's another matter. How that's going to be handled, I don't know. I hope it's peacefully. I really, really do. When I mean peacefully, obviously we're not going out in a field and shooting each other. What I mean is I hope there doesn't need to be LNC involvement. I hope there doesn't need to be court involvement. I would hope that we as libertarians could get together and work it out. But the fact is, LPCO absolutely broke its fiduciary duty. And here is the fact: nobody's doing.
They admitted it.
I know.
Jim Wiley told us that.
I want to make something clear. Nobody is doing this right now. So I don't want people to take this as some kind of threat. Colorado is a nonprofit corporation. And if 5% of the voting members, which would be only about 10 people in Colorado, they could file a derivative lawsuit against the Libertarian Party of Colorado. Hannah and Wiley are in legal danger. Nobody has said they're going to do that, though. I want to make that clear. Nobody has said they're going to do that. But that is, in fact, a possibility. They defrauded the voters in Colorado, or no, that's wrong. They attempted to defraud the ballot line in Colorado. And they don't have E&O insurance, unlike the LNC, who has E&O insurance. Now, again, nobody has threatened to do that. I'm not threatening to do that. I've had enough of court.
CK Nightletter asks, is there anything I can do to help my local county's LP? We are dead silent in my city as well as all of North Texas. We actually have a lot of folks from LP Texas in LPA. It's almost like y'all are, like the biggest state by area. You don't quite have the population of California, but you're pretty big. We can get you in touch with people. We can help make that happen. I'm throwing up a QR code right now for joining the Alliance. It'll take you to the Discord, and then you can poke me or Amanda or anybody with a Texas name. Poke Amanda.
We need to know your real name when you join, because we're not going to let in. We talk about strategy, especially at the higher levels, and we are not going to let any person whose identity we cannot confirm into the strategist channels, right? So we need your full name, at least in a private message. There are people who are Mises who want to stay anonymous because of threats and things like that. So they don't always have their names out publicly, but give us your name. We'll do and a social media account, so we can do a 2-factor, make sure it's you, because we also get people coming in and claiming to be random folks who've already joined, and that's always really funny. Sometimes we let them hang out in the main area just for laughs. But yes, name and social media account, and we will get you started.
Jamie just asked what happened to the stream. It should be live.
Nothing. Somebody asked where I got my Badass Liberty headphones. I actually glued on my normal thing. So these are homegrown. And I see that Richard Brown had said, correct, the delegates convention had the right to make the interpretation. And they did. And I agreed with them. But we took a vote. It wasn't just me. Believe me, these people do not listen to just me. They barely tolerate me.
Based on some of the comments we've gotten tonight, that seems a thing. So I do want to ask, if the LNC is not coming after you, do you intend to go after the LNC or people on it?
No. Okay, but I'm going to give a disclaimer there. Adrian is a vindictive son of a bitch. And if he tries to publicly libel me in some way, I am not ruling that out.
Gotcha.
They just need to leave. They just need to leave me the fuck alone. I don't want anything to do with them. I'm concentrating on Colorado. But if Adrian is going to be a vindictive bitch, he's going to meet another vindictive bitch.
Gotcha. I, for one, very much hope that there is not suits of any kind.
Oh, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. I want them to go on their merry, destructive way, and I want to concentrate on Colorado. However, I will say this, Mr. Malagon, you distributing that SIC report last year in December while an appeal was still going is a libelous offense.
Ugh.
So the statute of limitations hasn't run on that. Maybe you ought to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Because I am tired of your bullying bullshit. And I watched Ender's Game. Sometimes you have to put a bully down.
And with that,
I'm getting a new slew of messages that I'm going through. I was just told that someone sent an email related to this, but I don't know
which email?
which email. Ich habe vielen email.
How do I scan the code with my phone on my phone, or do I have to use a different device? I would imagine that you need to have a different device so that you can take the picture. Although, can you just tap the QR code on your phone? That might work. I would recommend that. Did you read Ender's Game or watch it, or both? Says Archie.
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, both. I didn't actually like the movie so much. I really didn't. The book was really, really good.
What are you finding, Kyle? We also had a question much earlier on about how often you have to dye your hair, because you never seem to really be showing roots.
Oh, I show roots a lot. And you want to hear something great? I have the best husband in the world. Wayne does it for me. He actually literally dyes the roots. He watched YouTube videos.
Oh my gosh.
On how to do it. So we do it at home. I'm telling you, I have the best husband in the world.
So I have a message from Meredith and Adrian with a email from, I think it's today, which I will show. Here we go. I'm assuming that's convinced. Adrian convinced you into libeling me. I will sue. Adrian is likely to be sued for his libeling of me before the statute of limitations runs out. I understand you may be upset at me. You let Adrian run roughshod for months despite my pleas not to, and then the chair retaliated against me for private complaints.
Yes.
This is the Malagon bed you made.
Yes, absolutely.
I believe that the point
I don't care. Listen, I don't care what shit they say in LP emails. I don't even read them anymore. As I said, I deleted Outlook. I've also unsubscribed from the Google list. But if they try any other shit against me, I'm going to fight back. It's just simple as that. I don't care what shit they say in emails. Nobody hardly ever pays attention to those emails. But the fact is, Steve has enabled a bully. Steve has absolutely enabled a bully. And I will say this publicly, because here's the thing. LNC has a $20,000 deductible. So, Steve, you want to play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And Adrian actually lied and said I cost the LNC $20,000 for my derivative suit. That's a fucking lie. They paid one deductible, and it was when Beth Best sued. It wasn't when I did. They did not pay an extra deductible when I did, because Adrian's a fucking liar. But here's the thing. There probably is some kind of DC statute on workplace harassment. Adrian actually went on Twitter and said my husband doesn't sleep with me. That is sexual harassment. This LNC is under a lot of liability due to Adrian's bad actions. Now, does that apply to nonprofits? I actually don't know. I'm not an attorney. But if there's an attorney out there who does know, I'd like to hear from you, because I am tired of the chair letting this bully get away with bullshit. And I regret dropping my derivative suit. I did it out of good faith because Stephen Nikela asked me to. And he assured me he would have my back against Adrian the bully. Adrian, you may think Stephen loves you. Well, let me tell you the conversation I had with him. He agreed you were being a fucking asshole, but he went back on his promise. I regret dropping that suit. I hope Beth Vest gets the upper hand on everything, and she can call me as a witness.
And has asked me to do an IT thing, and I've once again proven to be mediocre.
It's fine. I'm just testing you now. I'm testing your IT abilities. What? That's an interesting question. Is the party still incorporated in DC and as a foreign corporation in Virginia? Do we know that?
It is incorporated in DC. I mean, it's a foreign corporation in every other state in the country, if I understand corporate law correctly, which I might not. I mean, I do know it's incorporated in DC, but I think in every other state, it would be considered a foreign corporation.
The LNC Libertarian Revolution does have rules mandating good decorum, I believe. There is at least, is that not correct? And the policy manual, aren't there
no,
rules?
some, okay, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others, particularly if their name is Adrian Malagon. He gets away with absolute murder. I want to know what he has on Stephen Nikela. Because there's only two options here. He's got something on him, or Stephen Nikela just doesn't care. And neither of those are good. Every single person on the LNC, except for his girlfriend, knows that Adrian Malagon is a complete asshole to everyone on the LNC. And people see it on the public threads too. You don't have to take my word for it. In what world is it appropriate, even if you don't like the target, to claim that an LNC's member's problem is because they are inbred through incest? In what world really is that appropriate? I don't care if you like Andrew Chatterton. You don't do that. There is no professional board. Steve promised us that he was going to run this board professionally, like he does his businesses, and he's a very successful businessman. So I believe he runs his businesses professionally. Why isn't he required of this on the LNC? Talk to people candidly. Talk to people who can't be retaliated against. Talk to regional representatives, except for the Region 1 ones, because they can remove him. And by the way, Andrew, even though I don't like you, and Austin, you could be a little weird and a pain in the ass, Adrian wants to remove you. I think you know that already. And anyone who wants to call me a liar, yes, they were planning on removing Bill Redpath. You can call me a liar all you want. I don't care. This is Game of Thrones bullshit. Oh, let me spill some more tea. They got a secret chat, by the way, that they're keeping other LNC members from. I participated in a while, and I'm actually ashamed of that. I thought it was just going to be like a one-off where we were strategizing on emotion. That's perfectly natural, but it kept going. And I left the chat and said, this seems to break rules somewhere. They got a secret Discord chat going, and they're talking about everybody else. Just so you know. So if you think the Angela Files was the end of the secret chat era, I told you I'm going to spill all the fucking dirt. They have a secret chat going right now, and they're talking about removing Austin and Andrew. And again, I don't like Andrew. I think he should resign tomorrow. But he deserves due process. And this isn't how the LNC is supposed to operate. And Meredith's a part of it, by the way. So she can act all high and mighty, but she's a part of it. And you want to know what? I was too. And I was wrong. And I left. Once I realized this felt really icky, I left. I probably have a screenshot of me leaving. I don't know. I might have archived the chat because it really felt so icky. But let me see. Let me see if I still have it here. And because I want to get out of Signal, not Discord. Excuse me. I think I deleted it. Yeah, I deleted it because I felt so gross. Ask other LNC members. Ask them if I'm telling the truth, that they have a secret chat.
Meredith says that she is part of it, and then effectively is pointing out that it is not a scandalous thing.
Yes, it is. The LNC is supposed to operate as a body. They're not supposed to, even if you don't like the Mises people on the LNC, you're not supposed to be having these discussions without them. It is a scandal. It was a scandal in Angela's reign. Why are you guys different from Angela? And you talk all kinds of shit about other LNC members in it. And again, I participated in it. I'm no angel. It started out as an email thread started by Adrian, in which he talked shit about Austin. He talked shit about James Wiley. But of course, James Wiley is just a tool for him. He hates James Wiley when it's convenient, but when he can get back at me, that's just how Adrian is. He uses everybody. So if it's convenient to use James Wiley to get at me, fine. And if he, wants to use James Wiley to say he's awful, then he'll do that. And Meredith said, why did I wait to leave it till this week? Because it took a while for my conscience to get to me. I was wrong. But Susan will tell you, Susan Hogarth, by the way, that in the past, I've always left them right away. And I was never part of that Mises group. And let me tell you, just a part of human nature, I kind of stayed in it because I was trying to make good. Like I was trying to bring peace. I actually took being invited to it with you guys as a peace offering, but you still went ahead and stabbed me in the back. But I shouldn't have been in it, and you shouldn't still be in it. And every LNC member who is in it, you should get the fuck out of it, because that is not the way the LNC is supposed to operate. But have your catty little gossip. Go ahead. All of you, except for the people that I mentioned that I respect, should resign. Every single one of you. And then let the good people appoint good people to the LNC. Because you guys are driving the party into the ground. And people sleeping with each other should not be on the LNC together. And Adrian has openly bragged about how he controls your vote.
Do you see, and I mean, this might not be a question that can be fairly evaluated given the fact that you say that Adrian is the worst offender and you're telling, do you see the issue with Stephen appeasing people or not taking threats, or not threats, but not taking bad behavior seriously, to be just concentrated on Adrian, or do you see it just anywhere that there's bad action on the board?
There actually isn't very much bad action, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I mean, there might be people who every once in a while have a little temper tantrum. I think that's somewhat natural. I had a little temper tantrum against Andrew Chatterton, where I'm like, you're just a backstabber. It was like maybe a 2 or 3 post little tiff we had. Ben has had his not so great moments, but Ben generally is a nice guy. I know LPNH isn't our favorite affiliate, but Ben generally is a nice guy. We all have our little peaks of human anger, but the person who has been routinely abusive is
Amanda.
Adrian. No, it's Adrian.
Thank you, Caryn.
I mean, like last term, he was continually calling Todd Hagopian a hobbit, and are your feet hairy, and are you cranky because you didn't have second breakfast? It's just super, super cruel. And Meredith knows it, and she's just putting up with it.
Hi,
I just
Meredith.
think it's funny because I actually said to Caryn Ann once, what is the region rep's responsibility? And she says to abide by their chair.
Yes,
So
it
I
is.
just think it's fun. Yes. Oh, and so who's the chair of my region, Caryn Ann?
I know, but perhaps you shouldn't have
Okay,
accepted
thank
that
you.
responsibility.
All right, thank you. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you. You're full of shit. You've lied so
me-
many times. Oh, yeah.
Interrupting me just shows how confident you are. You should not have accepted the appointment if you're in a romantic relationship.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Why didn't you say that back to me when I got the appointment?
You know, I haven't always been perfect, and sometimes
Interesting.
No, well, that's just human nature.
And why did you laugh at the fat jokes about Beth Vest when I told him not to do that? That's interesting.
Yeah, and
are you this much of a social this is a human nature thing? You have to, act this way when you're around people or something? Like I don't understand your philosophy.
I'm not perfect.
Okay,
No,
yeah,
I'm not
you're just
perfect.
always under the spell of the other people who are influencing you to do the wrong thing until you finally grow a conscience.
Sometimes, and sometimes not.
Caryn Ann, how old are you?
I'm not gonna. I don't know, to be honest with you. So you could figure it out. My birthday is October 18th, 1967.
Okay, interesting. And you still fall into like middle school traps.
You could call it middle school traps if you wish to. I mean, if you wanted to sit here and be nasty to me, that's fine. I apologize personally to Beth Vest. Those were cruel jokes. I used to be a huge fan of Howard Stern, who was very, very funny. And he was very, very funny for cruel jokes. And now I feel like kind of very.
And you know what I said when he made that
I don't,
joke?
but I believe you if you say.
You were actually right there, and I said, fuck you, that's not funny. You don't say that shit. You were there. It was in DC.
I believe you. I just don't particularly.
So I'm able to stand up to my bully of a boyfriend, but you can't?
Adrian, I'm not always completely wrong, but you don't stand up to your bully of a boyfriend when he makes fat jokes.
How do you know?
Because I'm in the LNC list, at least you don't do so publicly. You might privately, I don't know. But when he...
Oh, God, how dare I address something in private?
If you're going to just sit and yell at me, I'll just let you sit and yell at me, and I'll address it when you're gone. But the fact is, okay, I'll just keep talking over you, too, because I'm very good at that as well, and I think you're appearing very irrational.
Go for it, Queen.
When he has bullied,
bullied
Andrew Chatterton, you have never, ever said a word. When he has said that people who dress in tie-dye or have pink hair, or when he has gone after Star Child, you have never said a word. You just stay completely quiet.
So when did he go after Star Child?
Would you like me to pull up the post?
In an email?
In an LNC email. In an LNC email. Would you like me to pull it up?
Find it for me.
Yeah,
go for it. I can't remember the last time we talked about Star Child.
My guess is when he was on the LNC.
No, this is very recent.
Gotcha.
And you have no idea what I
don't know what you do in private. Of course not.
Yeah, you don't.
But what matters is the decorum in the group, because I actually don't care about your private life. Your private life is your private life.
Oh, you don't. Caryn Ann, you are hilarious tonight.
I think you're the one making the fool of yourself, but keep going.
I'm making a fool of myself. You're wearing a fucking
statue there you of go.
And screaming about how you would do everything again.
Appearances. I guess you really are the girlfriend of Adrian.
I'm making fun of your appearance. I'm making fun of what you're wearing.
That's part of your appearance is what you wear. It might not be an immutable.
Well, you can take it off.
I certainly can, but I choose not to.
I look stupid right now. That's why I'm not on camera.
I mean, you could go on camera. I wouldn't make fun of whatever you're wearing. I'm sure you look gorgeous.
You should make fun of me. I look silly. I'm wearing Eagles.
Oh,
No,
Well,
I'm
there
wearing
you
a
go.
shitty shirt and
Wearing an Eagle
yeah.
shirt. Ugh.
Everyone should have an
Listen.
embarrassing away photo just to keep them glued to this stream.
And the reason I didn't come on earlier is because I was finishing my chicken parm that I made for dinner, which was fucking fantastic.
I
Kyle
did
saw
see
pics.
pics. It looked fantastic.
Anyway, the lies that were told tonight, it's whatever. I understand Karen Ann's mad.
I'm actually
There were lies.
not mad.
Stephen would
I'm
actually,
free as a bird right now.
Stephen would come on
Meredith.
here. Okay. Stephen would come on here and dispute your characterization of many
I'm
of the
sure
things you said, and I know he's not happy.
I don't give a shit.
I know you don't. You've made that very clear.
I've made that very clear. I think he is unqualified to be chair. But here it is, Meredith. You know, you can argue all you want. I'm just going to sit here and compliment you. You can hate me all you want. I don't hate you. Then I'll take that back. Whatever feelings you may have, I think you're a beautiful woman, and I wish only the best for you. That's really all I have to say. You can be angry.
Well, I appreciate that. I think it's really fucked up that you said I was somehow complicit at Angela earlier when I'm the first person
you were complicit.
who got her to fucking resign.
I think.
How dare you?
Well,
for
I
saying
said
that?
you waited too long, and I do believe you waited too long.
Okay.
But you weren't complicit.
I'm sorry, I'm not perfect. Isn't that what we say now? I'm sorry, I'm not perfect all the time.
No, you waited too long, and I understand that's human nature. But I don't think you knew about it. I certainly do not believe you knew about it.
You should make that clear next
time.
Well, I'm
making it clear now.
Like
if people misunderstood, I don't think anyone on the LNC knew about it.
When, let's see, shit. Meredith was on recently. You both were at the same time. What was the event for this? We've had like 3,000 live streams.
It was after the report
That's
came
right,
out.
the SIC. Meredith said then that there's obviously things that she has not gotten right.
Someone
and apologize for those things.
And I appreciate that. Actually, Meredith's one of my more favorite people on the LNC, even though I'm not one of hers. I actually, and I could be wrong, but I think in 5 years from now, probably maybe not, I think Meredith and I are good friends. I actually respect Meredith greatly, and I do think she's a beautiful woman.
You are certainly not talking to me tonight like you respect me.
That's kind of like how I talk to everybody. It's kind of my personality. If you didn't see that, I apologize. But I do respect you greatly, Meredith. You are a woman of great skill, and you have great accomplishments, and I think you have a fantastic future ahead of you.
If you try to sue my boyfriend,
I know you'll defend him, and you'll defend him ably, and you'll probably beat me.
And the last time I did defend him in court, I
know you did.
and embarrassed the living shit out of the person. So I'm just saying, if you do that, Caryn Ann, I will not hold back just because it's you.
Of course not. You're an attorney. You shouldn't. And you're from what I understand and from what I've seen, you're a fantastic attorney.
I am. So I'm just letting you know.
That. I'm well aware of that.
I don't like when you threaten litigation. You do it all the time. No,
I really don't do it all the time, but I do it when it's necessary. And the funny thing is, you were also once threatening litigation in Michigan. And who ended up?
Me? What?
Back last term.
I didn't vote for that lawsuit. I came in well after that was initiated.
And you were on the litigation team.
The only thing I ever voted for.
You were on the litigation team, and you assisted.
And assisted in saying, yes, we should file a request for a continuance or not. Big fucking whoop. The only thing I ever voted for.
I'm not going to reveal
the relationship to that lawsuit.
You were on the litigation committee. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say anything confidential.
The only thing I ever voted for in relation to that lawsuit was to post a bond, number one. Number two, I didn't vote on anything.
You were on the litigation committee.
And I didn't vote on anything.
You should have agreed to be on the litigation committee then.
You're not making sense.
It's absolutely making sense.
What was the purview of the litigation committee?
To supervise the litigation. If you didn't agree with the litigation, you wouldn't be on the litigation committee.
No.
Yes, it was. I have
Excuse me. It was to make this. It was to make decisions about the finer points of certain things that other people know.
If you
Like, for
didn't
example,
agree with
summary
it, you
judgment.
wouldn't be
Yes,
on
no.
it. You were on all of the conversations on it, Meredith. Okay, do whatever you want.
You guys
I'm
are
just
welcome to
saying.
like yell at
All
each
right,
other,
whatever.
Yeah,
but I would
know.
ask that
Thank you.
you try to not be over each other.
Because then no one can
But
hear.
you just said I threatened litigation. You said I threatened litigation. That's a lie.
You
That is
you
a straight up lie. I've never
you
threatened
supported
litigation.
it. You were on the litigation committee.
All right, Karen, if that's the way you want to characterize it,
That's
that's
fine,
fine.
too.
And when have I ever personally threatened
I'll
litigation? I'm
retract
sorry.
that. You were
Ever?
on the you were
Thank
on the
you.
litigation committee.
You should make things like that clear when you say them, because otherwise it sounds like you're saying
And I
something else.
appreciate it.
When you speak in broad terms like that, that's
And I
not what it
appreciate it
sounds
when
like.
people request clarification, just as you did.
Thank you.
And
Other than this, I am sorry that your relationship with Adrian broke down. It was enjoyable when everyone was friends, and it is
that
what
was
it is.
that was Adrian's choice.
That's
I
your
know
opinion.
it is my opinion. I used to be extremely fond of Adrian, and let me say some complimentary things about him. He is a brilliant person.
You actually told me that he was your best friend, but you didn't say that I was your best friend, and that was offensive.
No, you never were one of my best friends, but Adrian.
I know. How do you think that made me
Well,
feel?
if we had talked more, you probably would have ended up being one of my best friends. Adrian and I talked more.
Well, I was very offended. I'm just kidding. I wasn't. But, you told that to me, and I could have been your best friend, but no,
Yeah,
it was
because we
Adrian.
talked more. I would have loved to have been closer friends with you.
Mhm. It
It
is what it
is.
is.
I mean, I wish we talked more, but Adrian and I talked quite a bit, and we were best friends. I mean, that you are absolutely correct. I said that to you because it was an absolute true. I loved Adrian as a friend, but I would have very much enjoyed getting closer to you. Because while I do believe, and I know you're going to be offended by this, and it is what it is. Listen, I'm just telling you honestly, it is what it is. I believe Adrian's a sociopath. I don't believe that of you. I think you're actually down in your heart a good person. I do. And you could not think this.
Down in my heart, I'm outwardly a good
let's
person.
even say you're a good person. I do think you're a good person, Meredith.
I never said things in the Mises caucus like, if they're not going to be part of a caucus, why wouldn't they can't vote the right way? I never did shit like that.
No, you didn't.
Thank you.
Neither did I, by the way.
And Adrian wants me to let you know that he never thought that you were his best friend.
And, I'm very naive like that. So that doesn't really bother me because that happens quite a bit. I let myself get really close to people, and I tend to think we have a closer relationship than we have.
And I will say you did that with Angela too, and you shouldn't have done that.
Oh, no, I shouldn't have.
Because she did you dirty.
And I'm very naive in some things, Meredith. And it is.
You shouldn't have done that, because when she prayed with you and then was like saying all that stuff in the background, when I heard that, when you let that out, that was shocking to hear. Because she does that fake Christianity shit all the fucking time.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And whether anyone wants to make fun of this, I don't think you will. But whether anyone. No, I'm going to say something I kind of was leading up to something. I know I do these weird prologues. And while I don't think you would do this, other people would. I actually literally do have autism. And one of the parts of that is that you can be very trusting and think you have a relationship with someone that you don't have. And Angela definitely played on that with me. You are absolutely 100% correct there. But one thing I will say about my relationship with Angela, the minute I saw she was crooked, do you want to know how long it took for our relationship to end? One day.
I mean, I honestly don't know how you made it through. I'm shocked that you made it through the dumping of the Angela files.
I can tell you if you really want to know.
Sure.
I was very, very damaged by things that happened before. I've had a traumatic life. And when you've been through hard things and other hard things happen, you kind of like divide your mind where you wall some things off. And looking back, I couldn't handle it, so I walled it off. I don't do that anymore.
How did she justify that? I'm actually curious now that because I
Yeah,
never
we
asked
had a
you.
really long talk, and I'll tell you, she cried, and I fell for it. And she told me how sorry she was and how I was really her friend when Anna Duque was never her friend. And I've had a really hard time keeping female friends. And it got me in my heart.
I think that's probably a common thing for libertarian
It got
women.
me in my heart. I fell for it.
Well, she is. I never ever considered that she would be a friend after I saw those messages. Right before I got on the LNC, that was one of the things to let me know.
I disassociated
Never trust
somewhat.
that.
I mean, honestly, I've been through it's not therapy with a therapist, but I have a really good general practice doctor that specializes with people with, I'm not gonna say specializes, that's probably the wrong word, but she has autistic child and spends a lot of time with me, and we dealt with it. But I disassociated. That was really hard.
Yeah, it was wrong. That all that stuff was wrong. I went back and read that
Yeah, no,
recently because I had it saved on my computer for some reason.
it was very hard. It was very hard, and I'm still processing it. And
Well, I think you guys should talk to Mr. Nikela because I think he may be able to offer a different perspective. I understand Karen Ann feels the way she feels. It is her right to feel that way. I I think you should probably ask Steve if he wants to talk because I think he might be able to offer perspective. I don't think it's a good idea for people to lose faith in the LNC. I understand why you would. I don't think you should, especially if you want to take it over. You need to one be taking over a strong organization, not one that's down in the toilet.
Meredith,
Well, we'll take it where it is. I mean,
yeah,
if
this
it needs
isn't
to be
argue.
rebuilt, it needs to be rebuilt.
But here's the reason. Here's the reason why I say that is because when you take over an organization that's in the toilet, you spend the time that you would be taking it out of the
Right.
toilet.
Well,
You know what I'm saying? I would like to think that whoever takes over after Grand Rapids would be able to do something different and new and not have to spend their time digging out of a hole.
Meredith, I'm sure you would concede this because again, I think maybe even this conversation, even with our yelling at each other, and maybe you don't believe it yet, but I'm going to tell you this: I respect you. Nikela had said a lot of things to me in private and broken a lot of promises. Can I prove it? Because a lot of it was phone calls? No. But I do think the circumstantial evidence bears it out. And other people have heard him say this. Maybe you haven't. I totally believe you. But even Adrian has said that Nikela is a coward who has no balls.
Adrian says that to
Oh,
Nikela.
I know. But the fact is, I don't actually.
And then Nikela tells him he's an asshole, and that's how men talk to each other sometimes.
Whatever you might say, I actually think Adrian believes it. And the funny thing is, I don't think Adrian's entirely wrong.
I think Nikela is a successful businessman who wouldn't have gotten where he was if he didn't have some intelligence.
I think he is a very successful businessman and not a very good LNC chair.
I think that there is a difference there in a
Of course, there could. Oh, yes, I think
Yes.
politics and business
Yeah.
are not always a one-to-one.
I wasn't even going there. I think
That's
that
fine.
him being intelligent and him having balls are different things too.
Yes, very much so.
Oh, of course. I mean, yes. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, you could say that being smart and being balls are almost, is it what, inversely correlated? Because if you're smart, you want to be in self-preservation mode. Why did
why
I
I'm
say
not really
that?
smart.
Where was I going into?
But
see, this is why I don't. This is why I do interrupt sometimes. Is because if I don't, then
oh,
I
I
forget
do
what I was
that
talking
too.
about because my ADHD
I
is
do
really
that
bad.
too.
What was I gonna say about Steve? Just going to say, I mean, I know Hector asked this question the other day when I was on, is and my position has always been that the LNC right now is in crisis mode with regard to finances, and that's why I thought Steve. And I just want to. I know Karen Ann. I wasn't in the meeting
Yeah.
that you were talking about, but I was in others, and we put Steven forward. It wasn't. It wasn't like, oh, we're gonna fall back on Steve because he's. It wasn't. It was. We think Nikhil is the one who can steward us out of this with his background and ability to work as a manager, sort of an ombudsman in a way. And I don't. There was never. I don't. Adrian was never like, I'm gonna need to be an at-large. That never happened. If that happened in a meeting that you were in, I would be.
You could you
learn
could
that was
talk to
true.
other people. That is absolutely what happened.
Okay, that I don't believe,
Yeah,
but I will
please
ask.
do.
I really don't believe it because I was living with him at the time well, I live with him now all the time, but I was
Okay.
living at him at the time due to Bugsy's surgery since
Ma-
he has less stairs in his apartment than I
And
have
by the way,
mine.
I'm glad Bugsy is doing well. You
Yes.
know, at the time of that vote, Adrian and I were not friends. I would
I
not
know.
have voted for him if that deal wasn't made.
No, I understand the deal. I'm saying him saying I won't vote for Steve unless I get an at-large. That is what I'm calling bullshit on because he made it was his idea, or not his idea, but it was all of our idea after they torpedoed the McGee thing to go with
No,
Steve. So it just doesn't
there were
make
two
sense.
parts of the deal, and Adrian reneged on one part of it. He agreed that we would just leave each other alone and he would not go after me, and he reneged on that. I kept my end of the deal because I said he's like there were multiple deals made. One of them was that Keith would be able to be Region 3 rep. At first, Adrian vetoed that, and then that was negotiated, and Keith ended up being Region 3 rep.
Yes.
And the other one was Adrian being at large. I asked if that could happen without my vote because I did not want to vote for him. And I was told it could not happen without my vote. So I agreed to vote with him.
That's not, I mean, I just know, I know that that's not true. And that's, I know the Keith thing is true, but that I need to be an ally. I mean, because again, I know intimately what was going on at that time, and that it's just not
I'm
true.
telling you it is.
And I'm sure that Mr. Nikela would back me up on that, especially since we were the ones putting Nikela forward.
At this point, I'm sure to go against me, Mr. Nikela would say nearly anything, but Keith will back me up.
I don't think he would.
Keith will back me up. Dustin will back me up.
You somehow convinced Steve to, after he said that he didn't have that call with you about Colorado, he said, okay, I guess I did after he talked to you. So I don't think he's a liar.
He forgot. No, I don't think he lied about that. I think he just actually forgot. And that's what he said to me, is that he forgot. But Keith knows about that deal with Adrian. Bill knows about that deal with Adrian.
All right. Well, Keith is a very funny person. I enjoy his commentary on things immensely. I will talk to him.
Bill knows about that deal.
I have Bill's number. I'll call him.
I probably still have the text.
Okay.
That absolutely was a deal made. I never, ever would have voted for Adrian otherwise.
I know it's not true, but it's fine.
It's funny, you weren't there.
If we're not going to see
you weren't
eye
there,
to eye.
but you know it's not true. I would understand if you said, I find that very difficult to believe, but you weren't there.
I was in the fucking
I'm
background the
just
whole
telling you
time,
that was the deal.
dealing with a sick dog in a trial, but yet I was in the background the whole
That
time.
that
It's the only reason I wasn't
that
at
was
those
the deal.
meetings.
I would not have voted for Adrian otherwise.
All right, if you guys made that deal, that's on
Oh
you.
yeah, no, that's definitely. But I actually think it was worth it. I mean, if you want to know, it was worth it to keep Heiss from being chair. It was worth it to keep Heiss from being chair, and it was worth it to take a gamble on Nikayla. The gamble didn't pay off, but I still think it's better than Heiss being chair. But I think if you want my opinion, and Meredith, this isn't about you. I understand it's your boyfriend, so you're going to take it. It's perfectly understandable. It was a gamble worth playing. But I think Nikayla lost the plot with what he's done. I do think the LNC is in shambles, and it would not surprise me if Angela McArdle is chair of the LNC before the end of this term.
I have absolutely no idea how that would be humanly possible.
I can see how, and I hope it doesn't happen. Please.
I am not a betting woman, but I might actually put money on that not happening.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a betting woman either, but I think between Nikayla and Adrian, and Nikayla putting up with Adrian's rudeness has blown up the LNC. And I can tell you the way I feel right now is free as a bird, because Adrian has made not just my life miserable, multiple other people. I don't think I'm the first resignation. And I think you're going to find it even more. And I might be. I'm not hoping other people resign, because what other people do is their own business.
I mean, honestly, can I just tell you, it sounds like you're hoping everything goes to shit.
I just think it is.
And that other people resign, and that you want Beth Vest to win her suit, and you want all of this. And it makes me wonder if you ever had the LNC's best interest at heart, or if you were always looking after yourself. And I think it's, Caryn, and I do think your personal interests have always been over the LNC's.
My personal interests were, I never would have dropped my suit. But because of how the LNC has turned out, and actually, I can't speak legal stuff about best stuff, because obviously there are NDAs and stuff that I'm not going to discuss what was ever discussed on the LNC. But the fact is, I always believed my suit had merit, and mine pretty much mirrors hers. So I'm only going to speak about mine in the way it mirrors hers, because those are the only ones I think I have a right to speak on. It absolutely had merit. And I dropped it because of promises that Steve made to me, and he broke.
Well, I mean, you said earlier that you're too trusting, and maybe this is another thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, most definitely. But
I mean, again, like, I don't know if you really believed all of this shit and you were looking out for yourself. I don't understand why you would drop something you felt was legit.
For the peace of the LNC, and Steve said, I'm going to make sure that we are on a professional track from right now. And I said, one of the problems that is keeping us from being on a professional track is Adrian's rudeness. And he agreed. And he said he would take care of it, and he never did. And now,
do you think that Adrian provides a good service to the LNC?
In some senses, yes, and in some senses, no. I think his net negative is way more than his net positive.
Do you think maybe Steve disagrees with that assessment and think that what his positives outweigh his negatives?
I have no idea what Steve thinks. I know what other LNC members think.
I'm just asking if you think it's possible.
I'm sure it's possible he thinks that. But
I think it's quite frankly, I think it's kind of fucked up the way you're talking about Steve and stuff.
Steve knows exactly how I feel, so none of the.
I'm sure he does. But I I love Steve, and I think he's a great person, and he's a friend. And I think it's messed up the way you're
He's
talking
not a
about
good
him.
LNC chair, and he's broke a million promises, and he's allowed a serial.
And I'm sure he would disagree
Of
with
course
your
he would.
assessment.
That's like
And I
saying,
think that LPA should
We
have
have
him
had
on.
him on, and we will continue to reach out to him on again.
I'm saying about this, if he ever
Sure.
wanted to talk about it, because
and
I
he's
think Caryn Ann's opinion, she's entitled to it, but I think that you will oftentimes find, as I find in my line of work, that two people's version of the truth is usually diametrically opposed.
yeah, but one thing is absolutely certain here, Meredith. Whether you believe I'm right or not is kind of irrelevant to the one point I'm going to make. Our policy manual provides a process for reporting harassment. It doesn't mean the report is correct. Steve utterly failed to follow the process.
Did you raise that with anybody else but Steve?
Because the policy manual says to raise it with Steve and the vice chair, and I did.
And why didn't Paul do anything?
I don't know. And I'm not holding him entirely blameless on that as well.
But you know what, though? I think it's messed up, and you wouldn't say that about Paul.
I think Paul believes that the chair needs to take the lead.
I think that this is a little bit selective on your end, especially considering the other people that are involved in that chat that you were bringing up, who other people started it. I think that's very interesting, considering who started that chat and why it was started. And you know why it was started.
I actually don't remember why it was started.
Caryn Ann, it's because you replied to that email that wasn't supposed to be public.
Which one?
Okay,
because I really don't remember. I think I might remember, but I don't really remember. But in any event, that chat's inappropriate and it should stop. And I did participate in it. And that email
until this week.
Yeah, until this week.
Okay, thank you.
I never denied that.
Well, I just think you acted like you thought about it for 5 seconds after you joined it and then said, I'm leaving, this is inappropriate. That's not what happened.
It took a bit. I told you. It was because I thought we were starting to repair relationships. I really did.
Yes, that's fine. But I think you need to understand the way you have framed things in this in the conversation that you had before I got in here. The way you were framing things was very one-sided and self-serving, in my opinion.
You can think that if you want, but I don't think it was that way. But of course, we're going to disagree, and that's okay.
But you just admitted the things that I said were correct, and that's not how you framed it the way before.
I think it was.
You said, I realized that it was bad, so I left. You didn't realize it was bad and you left. You waited weeks, and then you had like one minor disagreement with Adrian about Colorado and California, and then you left. You didn't say anything on your way out about the chat being inappropriate.
Yes, I did.
You didn't, Caryn Ann. I'm in the chat right now.
Yes, I did. I said this is not appropriate. Oh my God, let me see. God, I wish I didn't delete that fucking thing. Let me see if it's on a. Does Discord keep it, or is someone else?
It's Signal.
I know, I always say that. No, I absolutely did.
I remember because I was at work and I had no idea what the fuck happened, and I pulled it up and I was like, what?
You can pull it up right there. I used, and I told Keith this. I don't want to like show my private discussions with Keith. I go, Adrian going, okay, so Paul texts me and he goes, don't answer that thing from Adrian. He's just trying to goad you. Okay, that just goes to tell you that I'm not the only one who sees what Adrian does. And to me,
I mean, you're putting sauce on it that Paul doesn't talk like that.
I can find it.
Paul talks like this. Paul talks. Yeah, I'm saying you're putting a sauce on his tone.
Well, it wasn't a tone. It was a text.
Paul could have just been saying, hey, don't respond to it. He's just trying to rile you up. Let me calm you down. That's also the way Paul could have been saying it.
It wasn't the way it was.
Paul's a very chill guy.
A very chill guy, but that isn't the way it was.
He's the classic Mormon.
Paul is a wonderful man.
Paul's a great person.
Okay, I'll read it right now. Don't respond to Adrian. He's screwing with you intentionally.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't think I misrepresented it at all. And then, hold on. And this is what I said to Paul. I'm not. And I didn't interfere in California. I answered a question. I'm about to leave that group anyways.
So Meredith, there's a question from Susan in the chat.
And wait, I want to finish.
Susan?
Adrian's just salty since in this case he screwed it up.
Okay, whatever.
So
What's up,
Susan
Susan?
asks whether you, 1, approve or 2, disapprove of Adrian's behavior on the board.
Depending where I mean, that's a broad question. There are times, many times I have disapproved. Many times I've approved. It's really, I mean, it's a tough question to answer considering it's been a few years now. When I disapprove, he knows, and we've talked about it, and I've talked to other people about it. He probably I think he disagrees with me a lot of times. He probably thinks I'm being a gigantic pussy right now. I'm sure he does. Because that's just kind of how I am. I'm a little bit of a pussy. No shade to pussies. But you know, I have no problem telling you in an individual circumstance if I disagree with him. You'd have to be a little more specific. I can already tell you though, as I've said many times, the jokes about Beth Vest, I was open defending her in front of other people. Caryn Ann was there, even if she doesn't remember. It's fine. We was in DC. Lots of stuff was going on. I've said multiple times that that's not cool. I don't like that. So that's an example off the top of my head.
And I believe he did that, but he makes fat jokes about Andrew Chatterton all the time.
Yeah, I don't like fat. I don't. Well, I wasn't in.
No, he does this on the list.
In the same trial that I was in the year
did
before.
This on the list.
Well, I don't know. I'd have to find.
I mean, I can find the one. Where
I can't. The inbred joke that you were talking about. I've never heard that joke.
He
I don't
made
know what you're talking
not
about.
only
if that's on the list, I don't know.
Not only to Adrian, he made it to Austin Martin too.
That Austin Martin's parents are inbred? That doesn't make sense. Why would you reuse that joke? They're two different people.
I don't know why he would reuse it. And here's the thing about it.
I don't know. He's not a joke reuser.
No, he words it slightly different, but he is a joke reuser. He said to, if we want to talk about insults, he said to Adrian Lamb, Region 1 isn't sending its best. He said that to Andrew Chatterton. He also said,
I mean, come on. That's a Trump joke.
But that's not appropriate on a professional board.
Caryn, you want me to get into all the things that you've done that aren't appropriate on a professional board? My goodness.
You could go ahead all you want, and I can say there have been times.
And can I also just say that you talked about how much you appreciate JJ's his skills as a parliamentarian, and then you filed a complaint against him?
I filed a complaint against him. Well, actually, I'm not going to get into the details of the complaint because I do think that is confidential with National Association of Parliamentarians. But I can say this. My complaint against him wasn't about his professional skills. Because as you just said right now, I've never, ever said anything badly about his professional skills. My complaint about him was his behavior towards me. It had nothing to do with his professional skills. JJ is a world-class parliamentarian.
And how about the bar complaint against Oliver Hall?
I'm not going to discuss that because Oliver's not here, and that's done with. I do think
that was fucked up.
It was fucked up, but I think it was valid. But I'm not going to discuss that.
It didn't go anywhere.
It didn't, but the bar complaints never do.
And you're not an attorney. You don't know what that's like. And I think that was really fucked up.
You could think that if you wish. I think what he did was really fucked up.
We are over 3 hours
That
now.
is just, I mean, that's just ridiculous. Sure. And honestly, I wonder how you think that you can serve on a board with a corporate counsel after you make a bar complaint against them. That's not very professional, in my opinion.
I don't know how a corporate counsel can think that they can serve a board after they instruct the rest of the board not to talk to an officer. So that goes both ways.
Okay. So I thought you weren't going to talk about it because it was confidential.
I answered the one thing.
All right.
Meredith, I want to make sure that you have a chance to say, I'm sure that there's a lot that you want to say, but I do want to make sure that you have a chance
I
to
got
get
nothing
your
else to
main
say.
points.
I mean, nothing else to say really. I'm pretty pissed off about the things that were said about me early on in here, and I yelled at Kyle over text.
I do it a lot. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was messed up that you didn't stand up for me, sir, wherever you are. I'm not looking at the camera right now, so I can't see you. I think it's really fucked up that when people have a problem with Adrian, the first person they attack is me. And you know that happens, Caryn Ann. And it's fucked up because people think they can't get to him, so they get to me instead. That is really messed up. And Brittany Cosin, someone who I don't agree with about a lot of things, Brittany Cosin actually said once that in this party, it's interesting that when people have a problem with TJ, they go to her. And when people have a problem with Adrian, they go to me. And that's fucked up.
You're
I've never
both
done
on this.
anything to anyone, except I did make a shitty comment to Alexa, and I would like to apologize for it, but I know it's not going to matter to her because she said shitty things about me about 1 billion times before, and I've never fucking met her before. So whatever. I mean, again, I don't deserve getting ire for shit that Adrian does, and yet I do. And I think it's fucked up, and y'all are cowards for not going to him because you know you're not going to go up against him without getting some straights.
Oh, I go against him all the time. But
I'm not talking about you.
Okay, then I apologize. But just on that vein, you're on the same board, and I understand you may have private discussions, and none of those are my business. You think you have an obligation as a board member to say something in public? Public might not be the right word. On the board, because not all discussions are public. But that's not my problem anymore.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about you. I'm talking about, you know, that's what people do.
Oh, they do that all the time with me.
You know that I've been attacked multiple times in my professional career, Caryn Ann. You know that. And you know that it started right after your shit. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying, you know that happened.
Well, you
so
actually did blame me.
Hold on. I said it happened as a part of it, but I'm saying, you know that happened, and that's why I think it's fucked up for you to get on here and be reckless when you're talking about certain stuff and not framing it correctly. And I know you don't think you were, but I think you were, and I think that anybody who rewatches this and hears me question you and your response changing would see that.
I don't think so, Meredith. I think you're being extraordinarily defensive, and to say that you didn't blame it on me is not correct, because you in fact did.
All right, whatever.
I have that.
If that's what you want to say.
I have that email.
It wasn't the only time you could arguably say I blamed it for you was when I testified in your trial, and I started to cry because I was so upset.
No, actually, let me tell you something. Let me tell you how reckless the LNC was. So when they gave me access to my email back again, they didn't delete certain things they should have. And there were comments that you said while I was on my involuntary absence, and you most definitely blamed it on me. You probably didn't think you probably never thought I would ever see those emails.
Well, if I blamed it on you, then I shouldn't have. I don't know. I don't know. I just know that it started. It started after you started talking shit about me on Twitter. That's when it started.
But I had nothing to do with that. And I know
I'm not saying, hey, you're not responsible for somebody else's actions.
Right.
What you may have gotten people whipped up into a frenzy. Because again, I did nothing to you then. And I was the one.
That's not true.
You know how
that's not true.
You know how important my career is to me.
Oh, I know.
You know that.
And I'm the one who told you. I'm the one who told you privately about not having a certain background in Zoom meetings, because I was worried
that's funny,
that would happen
because
to you.
that's actually one thing that the person said. That's so interesting that you say that. I'm gonna go now.
I said that publicly. Anyway.
That reference I do not know, but all right. That was ratings. I honestly, it is good that Meredith came on. At first she wasn't going to, but I think it's good that we heard from her, and we certainly will reach out to Stephen Nikela and see if he wants to, to address any of the criticisms that were levied this evening.
I mean, there is one, final thing I want to say here. Everyone could try to deflect to this, deflect to that.
Mm-hmm.
There is something that's a core fact. Everyone has seen Adrian behave like an asshole. I mean, there's really no question on that. And Steve, maybe. Now, someone could argue that he's dealt with Adrian in private. You guys wouldn't know that. You can only take my word for it that he hasn't, that I have seen. There could be times that I haven't seen. But if he's behaved like an asshole in public, he should have been dealt with in public. We all know he's behaved like an asshole. And what was Steve's first act after I resigned is to try to, A, violate the rules, because Steve doesn't know parliamentary procedure for shit. The chair doesn't just get to appoint a secretary pro tem. It has to be elected. And after all of Adrian's bad behavior, what kind of judgment is it? Even if he thinks Adrian is the cat's meow, he knows what party members think. What kind of judgment is it of a chair to then immediately turn around and try to make Adrian secretary pro tem? I mean, I think that's an excellent question, but it's not my problem anymore.
I am glad that you were feeling better about all of this. I know it's a tough decision, and I know that it's been a rough week or more. You've had a rough, I think, year at least on the LNC, on this LNC.
Yeah, and I was absolutely vindicated. Listen, I was right about Angela, and they were wrong. And I knew it all the way back in July. And I wrote a whistleblower. She wants to bring up Oliver. Fine. We'll discuss it a tiny bit. I sent a whistleblower email to Oliver in July. And what did Oliver do with a whistleblower email? He gave it to the person who was being whistleblowed against. That's why I filed a bar complaint. And then he said to the rest of the board, don't talk to her. You don't do that. Now, the bar complaint did get dismissed. I hate the bar. They always, well, I don't want to say they always side with the lawyers, but they usually do. I still think that's fucked up. I lost. That's the way the game goes. But I tried to do the things the right way. I wrote a whistleblower email to the corporate attorney, and he gave it directly to Angela.
So Chris has got it here again. Only take the party forward, not take it back. But I know what you meant, Chris. It's okay. And one of the things that, if we want to be winning and running and winning candidates who are libertarians, who are both principled and powerful, and be principled and powerful as a party, we need to be drawing attention to us and telling people who we are, even when there's no candidate running. And that is where I think, again, member and affiliate action is critical. It can't just be about the candidate. We're about causes as well. So
Joshua said something incorrect. Joshua said, if you're suing the LNC, and I didn't say I was. And I will clarify what I said. He said, if you're suing the LNC for Adrian being mean to you, that says more about you than Adrian. That isn't what I said. I said Adrian is going to try to induce the LNC to make official statements about me. So it's not about Adrian being mean to me. It's about the LNC issuing libelous statements. I don't care how mean Adrian is to me. Now, I don't think Josh purposely misrepresented what I said. I think he misunderstood. Because Adrian's been a dick to me for months. And the personal thing where he sent out this mass email in California, that has nothing to do with the LNC. That's about Adrian personally. That has absolutely nothing to do with the LNC. My email to the LNC, and it's funny, I sent that email just to the officers. Why did Stephen share that with Adrian? You should ask yourself that. That wasn't sent to the general LNC. That was sent to the officers. And I know Paul nor Bill shared it. Steve did. Why did Steve share that? That's a good question to ask yourselves. And I think it supports a lot of what I'm saying. Steve and Adrian are in metaphorical bed together, and I don't know why. And Adrian is a liability to this LNC, and I didn't want anything to do with it any longer.
And yes, Chris, I do understand what you meant by back. I'm just being a jerk. But yeah, to transition to members, because I know this was about you and the LNC and how members need to work to make the LNC powerful and to make the Libertarian Party powerful again. We're going to take advantage of our not captive audience. You guys can leave anytime you want. I don't know why you're still here. And tell you, oh, Kyle's shaking his head now. And tell you once again, since there are so many of you, that we see both a lot of potential and a lot of vulnerability in the No Kings movement. As you all know, if you've been watching us, we have endorsed participation therein. And part of the reason for that is because, yes, it is vulnerable to co-optation. It is vulnerable to co-optation by just different breeds of totalitarianism. But what it doesn't have right now is a coherent ideology. What we don't have right now is a clear, consistent mechanism of messaging our ideology. You put those things together, you turn out libertarians in droves with consistent messaging about what No Kings really means and about the fact that the Libertarian Party is the only party of no kings. And this is actually a great way to recruit new libertarians, to make coalitions, to build coalitions, to get donors. We are making a push for affiliates and for members to turn out on the 4th and on the 17th. Once again, with consistent signage. Kyle, do you have this now? No? You're muted. Okay, you're muted.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you were shaking your head.
I did.
Can you pull up the images, please?
Don't know what images you mean.
The ones that we had on the business list.
They're not. There's nothing on the business list. I went to the business list folder.
I sent them to you. It's the same graphics in the Discord.
Gotcha.
In the demonstrations Discord. As we, again, work to pull that up. So the thing that we've been thinking, the thing that other people have been suggesting is that water bottles and fans are really good ways to get libertarian messaging into people's hands. They're very cheap to make. And they're also something that everyone's going to want on the 4th and on the 17th of July for sure.
There is literally no message from you.
It's in the Discord.
If I could,
Absolutely.
LPUSA Watch asked, she said, I forget now. I'm assuming it's she, because I'm assuming who runs that account, but I actually don't know. I forget now if if I said Malagon and Kingmaker are working together. No, they're not. Adrian despises Angela. Okay. But he does agree with her strategy. He doesn't think she was wrong to make whatever deals with Trump. He agrees with that kind of strategy. Mm-hmm. But he's not in bed. I don't like using that word in bed because people take that wrong. He is not an ally of Angela whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I think the takeaway here, and I've said it, and I'll say it 10,000 times because I think there was so many, not from you guys, distractions raised from other people. Everyone has known Adrian has been an asshole on the LNC for 2 terms now. That is just a known fact. It's a known fact. Angela did not rein him in because he was Angela's bulldog. That is exactly why he was brought in the LNC and why Carrie Eiler was no longer on the LNC. He was brought in for a specific reason. He's been a complete asshole this term, and Stephen Nicola has not reined him in. And whatever wrongs you may think I've done, and I don't, not you guys, but whoever, I don't really care. The fact is, Stephen Nicola has abrogated his basic responsibility as chair and his promise to multiple LNC members to rein Adrian in. And the longer that Adrian stays on the LNC, there might be hope in the LNC if he's gone. His resignation should be demanded, but no one will do it. Well, perhaps some regional will, but Steve won't. And I'm going to say it again, and I know you guys will agree with me here. And I could say it now, and I can make an exception for the people who didn't vote for exception for objection to consideration of the question. You are fucking cowards for not censoring the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. They do not represent libertarianism. And I think I have a friendly audience here when it comes to that. The LNC is useless until it can do that. If it cannot find the balls to do that, just like I said with COVID, I said to JBH with COVID, if we couldn't speak out against mandates, we should voluntarily dissolve. If they can't speak out against the racist, disgusting messaging coming from LPNH, they should voluntarily dissolve. Cowards.
In terms of libertarian messaging that we can take out on the 4th and the 17th, once again, these are issues that come from that we worked up that we think are important to project. It's important that a movement, in order for it to effectuate real political change, to have consistent demands. So this is not just platform language. These are specific demands. Mimi in California has actually written an op-ed that's going to appear in 11 papers on the 3rd, endorsing libertarian participation in the No Kings movement with similar language. Again, tell everyone that the Libertarian Party is the only party of no kings. And then no kings means this: free immigration, demands end mass deportations, defund ICE, just wars, repeal the War Powers Act, abolish the imperial presidency, end offensive wars, independent commerce, repeal all tariffs, end corporate subsidies, and destroy agricultural and medical cartels, worker empowerment, end big corporate and union monopolies, support local independent organizing, and repeal anti-democratic blocking charges, which is what big unions use to prevent workers to seek alternative modes of organization. Due process, abolish all laws against victimless crimes, civil liberties, end qualified immunity, and the use of military force against civilians. This helps prevent co-optation, and it also gets our message out there at these protests without us having to spend a fortune. It gives us immediate earned media and an audience, a huge one. The popular threshold for political change, as many of you might know, is about 3.5% of the population participating in some kind of demonstration. We were at 2 to 3% on the first protests. This is an incredible opportunity for libertarians to tell people who we are. And again, if you want no kings, you want the Libertarian Party. So get out there, participate, make your voice heard, and don't be violent, be safe. But seriously, signage, fans, water bottles, all good ways to go.
That needs to be your background all the time, since it seems to trigger our communications director.
Yeah, the porcupine.
Yeah.
He doesn't like it.
The Libertarian Party, and I'll say it, I had a post, has always stood for the rights and dignity of gay persons. And anyone who disagrees with that, perhaps they should consider if this is the party they belong to.
This is a question here. It just skipped on me.
And that dinging my phone's been blowing up all day because people can't believe I resigned. And let me tell you, I decided in the course of 5 minutes because that's how I am. I've been considering it for 3 weeks, but Steve's message this morning that just mentioned me and didn't mention Adrian was the last straw.
So the link to this, you can find that that message, or rather the card that we just showed you, that is now our banner on X. And it's also posted. There are a couple graphics that are posted under our most recent episode of the business list. We can also add them to the post on this particular stream if you like. Again, for it to be as consistent as possible is good because, again, that magnifies our message. We had a question: are we minarchists or anarchists? No shade, just curious. We are all kinds of different things. That's the point of LP Alliance, is we are from many, many areas of libertarianism and the Libertarian Party. I actually don't know how everyone identifies, even on this panel. Kyle always identifies as something different, just to annoy me. And Rob, you're more minarchistic, aren't you?
Yeah, I would say that.
Okay, yeah. So it varies. We have people of different stripes on here.
At least I got through all the weird, like my phone just keeps blowing up.
You're fine. Yeah, and Ken says, from what I've seen, the answer to your question is yes. That is correct. That is correct, sir. Well, thank you again for coming on, Caryn Ann. And if you have any last words, anything else to say, then we will certainly hear that.
You know, it probably will be just a repeat, but I think what we saw today was an absolute and utter failure of leadership. I made certain promises and I kept each and every single one of them. Meredith can say whatever she wants. We are talking about since the day Nikayla became chair. And he broke every promise he made to me, and I kept every promise I made to him. He's promoted an abusive person at every opportunity that he got. And now he's trying to make that abusive person Secretary Pro Tem, which, like, I don't actually care who turns out to be Secretary Pro Tem, because, again, I've turned off all my notification to LNC stuff because I've got other things to do. That just shows a serious lack of understanding what members see, a serious lack of judgment, and rewarding an abuser. And I understand Adrian's going to defend her man, and I actually somewhat respect that. But Stephen Nikayla has no excuse. Doing something as absolutely stupid as that, to me, disqualifies him from leadership. And I honestly think that, with the exception of the few people I mentioned before, if this LNC is going to have any chance, and again, I don't think the success of this party depends on this LNC. It depends upon us taking back the party in Grand Rapids. Everybody become a delegate if you can. But if there's going to be any chance for this LNC to turn around, nearly all of them need to resign and allow the good ones to appoint people to the LNC to continue the rest of this term. That's my opinion, and that's why I finally left, because I just could not be a part of this anymore. Adrian abuses people, not on the daily, it's not that often, but it's regularly enough that I was never going to subject myself to that again. And it's simple as that. It's an absolute failure of leadership. And I think Steve's doing well in some other ways. His revival of Project Archimedes and some of his other ideas are fantastic. But his main thing he ran on is that he's a corporate guy and that he knows how to, run personnel and things like that. And that's where he's failed. He's utterly failed. And that if the other members don't want to resign, and I get it, that's kind of a big request. They should be demanding that Adrian resign. Like everything I said here, about Adrian. The other things, maybe people believe other people. No skin off my nose. Everyone knows Adrian is an abusive asshole. Everyone in California knows it, and everyone on the LNC knows it, whether they're ever going to admit it to you guys or not. And I had it. He doesn't abuse this bitch no more.
So the LPA is not a caucus. That's the biggest difference. We're not a caucus. We have a mission that includes the LP, but that also incorporates the International Alliance of Libertarian Parties, which we're working with. We're on a working group now that's trying to give the ILP more teeth and ability to act in a solidified manner. The demands that we agree on, right? The things that we're working toward are both specific enough to give us a sense of purpose and general enough to draw in a number of different groups. So we don't have specific platform issues that we're really focused on. We're not a caucus, as I said. We want a multi-caucus LNC. We don't want just a radical board. We don't want just a Waffle House caucus board. So that's the main difference, is we are working within the LP, but it's not just the LP that we're working on, revolutionizing, rebuilding. This is about the entire liberty movement. Susan had a question about the next steps in Colorado.
Oh boy. We obviously believe it was a legitimate convention. I know where Richard Brown had said that he agrees with JJ's interpretation, but also agrees with my position that if the delegates believed there was an ambiguity, that it was up to the delegates to determine, to interpret the meaning of their own bylaws. That's actually a direct quote from Roberts. And we did. So we adjourned to a later date. So we formed, not trying to get too much into the weeds, we formed at this convention an emergency board oversight committee, because this is without question, as you guys have joked many times before, they are obviously utterly incapable of scheduling a proper convention without some kind of issue. They have failed multiple times. They don't know how to read a calendar. So we formed an emergency board oversight committee with the sole responsibility of setting the adjourned date, the continuation, part 2 of this convention, in order to elect party officers. Now, will the current board recognize that? I don't know. Our desire, the delegates who drove their asses all the way to Holyoke, and as a joke in Colorado, because it's so far, we call it Holy Fuck Colorado. And we had over 30 people that did that. And for so far away, that's a lot. I know that doesn't sound like a big convention, but for that far, this town literally has under 4,000 population. Like, this is tiny. It's our desire. I don't know if I can speak for anyone. I'm certainly not their spokesperson, as was said earlier. They're barely getting to trust me, but it's my desire. Let me put it that way. It's my desire that court action certainly gets avoided. LNC decisions certainly get avoided, and that somehow we can all agree on a convention date. We can argue over whether it's an adjourned date or a new date or whatever. That's a secondary argument, that we don't have competing conventions. We all agree on a date and location, and may the best man win the board elections. That's my desire. Their desire is to purge people from the party. At least that's what they've indicated so far. But I can tell you, because Jim Wiley's gone around bragging. This is the last action she's taken as a libertarian. You can't tell someone who's a libertarian or not. I am always going to be doing liberty activism, whether it's with the party, not the party, whatever. There was a time in my life when everything revolved around this party. I'm not that person anymore. So they can do what they wish. I'm going to do what I wish. I am much happier since I submitted my resignation earlier today. I'm going to continue to fight for Colorado, but our next steps are hopefully to try to bring the party back together. We don't want another divide like Michigan had, but it might happen. But that's not our desire. But it does appear to be the desire of Hannah Goodman and Jim Wiley.
And Chris is absolutely right. Don't wait until Grand Rapids. We're going to go to Grand Rapids. We're going to go to Grand Rapids. It's going to be fun. We want to get a suite, play games. It'll be great. But yes, get active in your affiliate. Get active in your local chapter, your state chapter, and participate in No Kings. You want to find that wording. It's in our banner on our page, and we will also post underneath this video more signage type graphics. And yes, watch Are You Smarter Than a Politician? Watch Free's show. It's so good. And please continue hanging out in the chat with us. We do love it and we love you. Yes, don't wait until Grand Rapids. In addition to that, we have a show on Tuesday with Ben Weir. So that should be fun. We have the business list again on Thursday. We have someone else, don't we, Kyle? Who do we have else this week?
Lars Mapstead.
Lars Mapstead, yes. All right, so we got Lars Mapstead, Ben Weir. We've got the business list. There'd probably be something else as well, because we always plan to have like 2 shows and the LNC blows up and we cover it for you, for the people. All right. Thank you all so much. Last words from anyone?
Yeah, I actually want to answer a question from Susan Hogarth, if that's okay.
Sure.
Susan had said delegates have the right to interpret their bylaws, which had been your take with regards to delegate credentialing in DC. 2 totally different situations. Plus, everyone keeps truncating my quote, and I don't think it's on purpose. Delegates have the right to interpret their bylaws when there is an ambiguity. That's exactly what Robert says. If the bylaw is not ambiguity, even by a unanimous vote, the delegates cannot change the meeting. And actually, the delegates at convention in DC voted to seat certain delegates from various delegations that I did not agree with in DC. But did I ever dispute that after the vote? No, because the delegates in convention at DC had that right, and they made that decision. And that's the way it works. Whether I agree or not agree, that is the position I took. Now, on the credentialing committee, there were certain bylaws that I did not believe were ambiguous. So the credentialing committee made its recommendations, but it was ultimately the delegates at convention on the floor in DC who made that decision. And I didn't agree with some of the decisions, but I accepted them because it was their right to make them.
Rob, sound like you were going to say something?
Yeah, a few just parting thoughts. So thank you everyone for watching tonight's episode of Real Housewives of the LNC. That's a joke, obviously. Thank you, Caryn, for coming on. Thank you for sticking around for 4 hours. You've brought us by far our best numbers, which is pretty crazy. With that being said, people getting some feelings out, therapy online, I guess, is a good thing. But for everyone that, like, I don't know, posted some shitty comment or said something bad about someone, take that time and go make a volunteer phone call or give $1 or something. If we put half as much energy into fighting each other as we did to fight in the Uniparty, we wouldn't be sitting here having to do this.
Thanks very much, Rob.
And I can tell you, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting, but my concentration over the next few months is going to be Colorado. So I wouldn't expect me commenting more on national things. I wanted to do this show with you guys to get all of this out. I'm sure people are going to disagree with some of my takes, but now you know why I felt it necessary to resign and why I don't have any faith in this LNC. I mean, I'm sorry if that offends some people or hurts some people, but that's my opinion. And maybe Stephen Nikela should consider keeping his promises to people next time, because loyalty is everything to me. And I kept every single promise I made to him. And I know Paul is angry at me right now because he wanted me to resign with a date that would allow me to help vote in the next person so that a certain faction wouldn't take over. I couldn't take another day of abuse from Adrian Malagon and Stephen's refusal to stand up to him. And I apologize, Paul, if you're mad at me, but my mental health has to come first, and you need to blame it on Adrian and Steve.
Once again, party is up to us. Party is up to you all. So thank you so much for tuning in. And we will see you on Tuesday. Unless we see you on Monday, I don't really know anymore. We will see you definitely on Tuesday, or some of us will, at 8 Eastern for Ben. Until then, thank you all so much.
Bye-bye.